that is applicable because Utah football still has a football game to play, and that is tomorrow at 1:30 Mountain Time. Utah, Nebraska. The Utes are a 14-point favorite to beat Nebraska. Join Porter. Make sure to set your alarms for 9:30 tomorrow. So join Porter for the Las Vegas Bowl pregame show. 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at Young Chrysler Dodge Ram Jeep, 1481 West Riverdale Road. So we'll have your coverage for the Vegas Bowl, Utah, Nebraska. In my estimation, I think it's one of the better non-CFP bowl games. BYU had a really fun non-CFP bowl game win in the Pop-Tarts Bowl over Georgia Tech, and we'll see if Utah can follow suit coming up tomorrow. Now, obviously, the college football playoff will resume tomorrow as well. So at 5:30 p.m., so right around the time the Ute game will end, Miami and Ohio State. It is the college football playoff quarterfinal at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic in Arlington at AT&T Stadium. The side of our Big 12 Media Days, and by the way, Big 12 Media Days will be there again next year. Not like any of you give a rip about that. And then on Thursday, I cannot wait to watch Oregon, Texas Tech. You get Bama, Indiana, Ole Miss, Georgia. We had a lot of debates about whether or not the 12 correct teams were in the CFP. I think we have the 8 best teams left. Due respect to BYU and due respect to, Notre Dame and Vanderbilt and Utah. The other teams are right on the outside looking in. Coastal right now is leading Louisiana Tech in the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl, 14-3. Later on, it'll be Tennessee, Illinois, and hopefully a good one tonight. It is the Alamo Bowl, a bowl destination that we're familiar with around here, as Southern Cal will take on TCU. So a little Big 10, Big 12 action there. So a lot of college football on the show today, as you would expect. The latest as far as the rumors regarding who is going to join Witt in Ann Arbor from both Utah and BYU. The weekend of pro football came to a close last night with a surprising result. The Atlanta Falcons upset the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams were a 7.5 point favorite for the one listener that hates that. The Rams were favored by 7.5, and the Falcons were smoking them. It was 21-0 at half. Rams came back and made it interesting, but ultimately the Falcons were able to come away with the win. Your final, believe it or not, your final weekend in pro football gets going on Saturday with 2 essentially play-in games. It's the Panthers and the Bucs, then it's the Seahawks and the Niners. Don't forget, we will have all the college football playoff games on this radio station and a bevy of NFL action for you over the weekend as well. We are your home of the biggest and best football games in the market here on ESPN 700. And some interesting games over the course of Sunday's slate, but none of them really all that germane other than the Ravens and the Steelers, which will be the Sunday night game in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are still alive, even though they did not beat the Cleveland Browns a week ago. So a lot of football on the show today, as you would expect. The Utah Jazz welcome in the Boston Celtics tonight. Love seeing Gordy Chiesa in studio. Was able to catch up with Gordy before he took off. He'll be at that game tonight. Had a great list, as he always does, of the best Celtic players of all time, top 12 Celtic players of all time. This is the most accomplished franchise in pro basketball with 18 championships, 18 banners hanging at TD Garden. So between the Jazz and the Celtics, those two teams have won 18 championships. So you can go tonight to see 2 teams that have combined to win 18 championships. 18 of them exist in Boston, and none of them exist in Salt Lake. Did talk to Gordy about the Keontae George stuff. I think it's a really cool story. The Jazz find themselves in a very interesting spot as we're inching closer and closer to halfway done on the NBA calendar. So we'll get to the latest with the Jazz and the NBA. Nikola Jokic, unfortunately, will be out for a month, but he has avoided serious injury. And I was actually watching the game, and in real time, it didn't look great, but he will be reevaluated in 4 weeks. And if you're the Denver Nuggets, obviously you do everything you possibly can to make sure that he is upright and good. So there you go. Some NBA news over the course of the past 24 hours. Utah Mammoth lost again. They had a week off. And then last night was 2 Stamkos goals in the third period, and the Predators beat the Mammoth 4-3. And this is not shaping up to be the season that I think a lot of people thought we would have concerning our pro hockey team. Of course, it's still early. Plenty of hockey left to be played. But as of right now, the Mammoth need to start playing certainly a lot more consistently. We're talking 18 wins, 19 losses, 39 points. Behind, and they're right behind the Wild. Of course, the Stars and the Avs are elite, but the NHL season, as far as our pro hockey team goes, has not turned out to be the way we thought that it would. They're very much alive for the wild card, obviously, with a bunch of hockey left to be played. They just have not been consistent at all. So bounce around a little bit today. A lot of storylines. Our first guest today will be Stevenson Sylvester, one of the best to ever do it. I'm talking to you, Muss. That's right. When Sly is on the sidelines as part of our broadcast team, pay our guy a little respect. I have not talked to Sly since the news came down that Witt is changing area codes, zip codes. He's headed to Ann Arbor. Going to bring in Yogi Roth today. Once upon a time from the Pac-12 network. And Yogi is landing on his feet like we knew that he would. And this time is with our friends in the Big Ten. And yes, they are our friends in the Big Ten because Witt is the coach of Michigan. So I would imagine Yogi's going to have some good insight today on this massive storyline that has dominated the news cycle, both locally and, quite frankly, nationally. Did another radio hit this morning. So we'll have Yogi Roth join us today. Andy Larson to talk some Jazz, maybe a little RSL, although not a lot of RSL news as of now. Andy with an interesting idea, basically stolen from European soccer, about uneven revenue distribution as far as television revenue goes, depending on your level of competition in the NBA. We'll kind of unpack that. I'll say this. This is unpopular because it's un-American. Everyone calm down. I love America. All right, we all do. Promotion relegation is the answer to what is plaguing the NBA. All right? I've said it will never happen. But if you watch, the Premiership, if you watch European soccer, it makes the games mean everything, and the teams that are unserious about competing would be relegated to a lower division. Now, that would mandate that they do a little bit more with the G League. But anyway, I think it's an issue for pro basketball. Andy's coming up with some creative solutions there. Then we'll preview the Jazz game tonight. Dave Fox, live in studio, KUTV, 2 Pelotons, 2 Emmys. Stevenson, Sylvester, Yogi Roth, Andy Larson, Dave Fox, me, Spence Checketts. Hello, how are you? All of the great listeners on this Tuesday afternoon. And that guy, Porter Larson. All right. Do you think we'll hear anything official about coaching staff additions in Ann Arbor between now and Friday's show?
I want to say no, just because I know that's the plan, right? To let these teams finish their years and then, formulate from there. But as we learned with Kyle Whittingham, that job's a little big for secrets, because a little inside the process here, the plan was for him to wait until after all of this and to, do the handoff with like Urban and Kyle did with Morgan in Las Vegas. That didn't happen because that's just a job that a lot of attention, a lot of journalists, and a lot of just want to know goes on with that Michigan job. So secrets are sometimes a little too tough to keep in that regard. But I think, and the plan for all involved, I think, is to do exactly that. Of course, we're talking Jay Hill, we're talking Jason Beck, we're talking some of the assistants here at Utah, and that's the expectation. But you just never know when a newsbreaker gets a story and gets a lead to the point where they feel comfortable reporting it, and that could probably happen anytime between now and tomorrow.
Yeah, it's been interesting because I'm trying to get familiar with the people around Michigan and the people around the Big Ten who are reputable, because there have been multiple reports that the Jay Hill deal is done. But I haven't seen anything official from Michigan. I haven't seen anything official from anybody around here. And I think there's a thought that BYU is making a last-second push to try to keep Jay in Provo. But if anything comes down, of course, while we are on air, we will bring it to you. Some unfortunate news. John Henry Daly is entering the transfer portal. We'll get to that. Of course, a great year for the Utes. Our first guest today to add some insight is Stevenson Sylvester on this Tuesday drive. But before Sly stops by, courtesy of our good friends and your good friends at Prize Picks, it's time now for your opening tip.
Welcome to The Drive with Spence Checketts on Utah's #1 sports talk. Now into the studios of ESPN 700 to set the scene for the show. The opening tip of The Drive is brought to you by Prize Picks. Use the code ESPN700 and run your game with Prize Picks.
All right, holiday season, best time of year for sports. Bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It is all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which games to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that is with our good friends at Prize Picks. They have got a couple of new features, okay? So number one, they're offering early payouts, which is a really cool thing. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Your fantasy football season is probably over. Even if you won your league, it's probably over. But with Prize Picks, you still have the option to play fantasy football every week, whether it's the regular season or the postseason. Just pick your favorite players, and when they hit their projections, you could win up to 2,000 times your cash. Go get their free money, won't you, and try it. That's the best thing to do. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the promo code ESPN700 to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Promo code ESPN700 to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, because on Prize Picks, it is always good to be right. All right, as we were just discussing, I think the general feel around the latest with this massive piece of news that has dominated the sports ecosystem, both locally and nationally, with Kyle Whittingham taking the Michigan job, I think the general feel is that after Utah's bowl game, which of course is tomorrow, the Vegas Bowl is tomorrow, and let me use this opportunity to remind you to join Porter for the Vegas Bowl pregame show coming up tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Young Chrysler Dodge Ram Jeep, 1481 West Riverdale Road. Kickoff's going to be at 1:30 between Utah and Nebraska. Both Utah and Nebraska will be playing this game without a lot of key pieces, but the Utes are still a pretty healthy favorite. Last check, 14-point favorite to win this game. I do know a lot of Ute fans planned a trip with the idea in mind that they'd be able to say thank you to Coach Witt. I can't imagine that the news has changed travel plans. I was on a Nebraska radio station this week, and their host basically told me that they're anticipating between 20 and 25,000 Nebraska fans. Now, there's going to be a lot of red in the stadium, period. Obviously, Utah and Nebraska essentially have the same colors. I am curious to see what the Ute fan contingent is with, the opportunity to say thank you to Kyle kind of out the window. I think the Vegas Bowl record is like 45,000 or something. So BYU travels, and obviously with the LDS footprint, there are BYU fans everywhere. But the Pop-Tarts Bowl was, I think, a sellout, and a lot of it was BYU Blue. So hopefully Ute fans will travel, and we'll have a good television product like we did for BYU Georgia Tech. So Morgan Scalley addressed the media today, and we're going to play some of those comments for you guys coming up at about 3 o'clock today. And, basically the gist of it is that Morgan said, look, there's a plan in place for, potentially, he didn't say this, but should they lose coaches, there's a plan in place for what that will look like. Look, there are tremendous, like the rumors regarding when a story is this big, when a story is this seismic, the rumor mill is going to churn like crazy. And it doesn't help that we have social media and the inundation of information 24/7. I mean, I'll tell you this. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm actually dressed like a grown-up today. And as I've told Porter, if I ever walk into the studio with like a suit on, it either means I'm in trouble, or I had a meeting with a bank, or I went to a funeral. And today I went to a funeral. I'm not in trouble. Lawyers, bankers, funerals, that's kind of the only time you're going to see me wearing a suit, just so you know.
Or now television.
Oh, yes, potentially.
Sometimes.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, potentially if I have a TV hit. Although I don't think I want to wear a suit on TV because all those guys look like they just came straight from church to do TV, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. For me, it's similar.
Yeah.
It's court or, well, yeah.
Yeah, you can leave it there. You can leave it there. But anyway, I had the opportunity to attend, I'm going to call it the life celebration of Barbara Layden, who passed away over the weekend. Frank Layden's wife. Obviously, we lost Frank about 3-4 months ago. And it's great to see all the old Jazz folk. Gordy was there. Our guy Smitty, unfortunately, was out of town. But Coach Mack was there. And on the way out, I had a chance to give him a hug and say hello because we all love Mack, the legend. And I said, I'm not going to ask any questions about the news cycle because I don't want you to share anything you don't want to share. And he looked at me and he said, it's just getting started. And that's all he said. Because, look, whether it is Jay Hill leaving BYU to go to Michigan or Jason Beck leaving Utah to go to Michigan, I mean, there are rumors out there that A-Rod could end up being Utah's offensive coordinator. I have no idea if that's the case. No idea if that's the deal. But all of these guys, I mean, when it comes to this community, they're all familiar with each other. And the undercurrent of the ramifications of what Witt to Michigan could mean to three very important member institutions, namely Michigan, Utah, and BYU. It is the number one thing people want to talk about. It's the number one thing that people are curious about. And I think all of our understanding is as the bowl season kind of winds down, with the transfer portal opening up on Friday, we will start to hear official pieces of news. But for now, we're kind of left to pontificate on possibilities and try to read the tea leaves and who on social media is a charlatan and a grifter and who on social media is actually trying to bring you, true news. And when it comes to learning a new conference, like learning a conference in the way that you already know the conferences that you've covered, the Pac-12 and the Big 12 for us, trying to understand exactly who to listen to and who's not trying to just get engagement for clicks and, generate some revenue based off of lying to you, and who's actually bringing some news is a tough thing to do, because there have been multiple outlets reporting that the Jay Hill deal is done. Like, it's a finished thing, but we would have heard something. I mean, I'll go back to Kalani's comments after the Pop-Tarts Bowl when he said, look, I'm going to let Jay make his own announcement. I mean, I can't imagine that Jay making his own announcement is that I'm staying. Maybe it is. And there is part of me that wonders if BYU is making this last-second push to block the move and make sure Jay stays. Now, the problem, as I see it when it comes to this dynamic with Brigham Young, is can BYU promise Jay what reportedly Michigan could put on the table, which is after Witt is done in 5 years, Jay could get the Michigan job. And if that's the deal, there's nothing BYU can do. Because Jay and Kalani are pretty close to the same age. I think Kalani's maybe 3-4 years older. I'll have to look at that. But Kalani is, I think he just turned 50. Like, you can't tell Jay Hill, like, hey, when Kalani's done, you get the job. Because Jay could be like, oh, wait, in like 18 years, I don't know what BYU can put on the table to block this move if Jay wants Michigan. And honestly, I don't think there's anything Utah can put on the table to block the move should Michigan want Jason Beck. It leads to the more interesting angle here to me because, look, we don't turn on the TV to watch coaches coach. You don't buy tickets to watch coaches call plays. We turn on the TV to watch the players. You buy tickets to watch the players play. And it is a different era where every year you're asked to get to know more or less a brand new roster. There's some holdovers here or there, which leads me to, mention the news that came down earlier. John Henry Daly, who is still recovering from an unfortunate injury, has entered the transfer portal. John led the team in sacks last year. So, I don't want to see any of these coaches go. I think it would be difficult to replace. Like, if Morgan has to replace 4 or 5 coaches, it's a really tough ask. Year one as the head coach of Utah football. But if Morgan has to replace 4 or 5 coaches and, 6, 7, 8 players end up in Ann Arbor, that's where I think the conversation gets a little more interesting. And that's where I think people around here would be a little bit more frustrated. Now, the reality is Utah, BYU, every team throughout the course of the transfer portal cycle is you're going to lose a ton of guys no matter what. Every team, there's no exception there. So even if Witt wasn't at Michigan, you're probably going to get some bad news about players you want to see stick around, just take their talents elsewhere because they got a bigger payday. But as we kind of get the bowl cycle behind us with Utah playing tomorrow and the CFP continuing, I would imagine all of the rumors that we're seeing right now will land in the space of reality that we can actually bring to you. And then we'll kind of understand what the landscape of college football, both locally and nationally is going to look like next year. All right, excited to have Yogi Roth on the show today. We're going to do a little hoop with Andy Larson. We've got Dave Fox, but we'll catch a break. And our first guest on a Tuesday show is our buddy Stevenson Sylvester. He stops by next. Keep it right here on ESPN 700. Hey, I got to say, it's pretty cool that we got the head coach of Michigan to voice Sounders for our radio station. That's a big get for us.
Yeah, I don't know how we did it. But I did notice there was a Cam Rising one that played a few months ago.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think we should just keep them all.
100%. I mean, shout out to the new head coach of Michigan, Kyle Whittingham, for doing voiceovers for our radio station.
Oh, the Utes.
Let's go live to Las Vegas, where Stevenson Sylvester is standing by. Sly, when I say the head coach of Michigan, Kyle Whittingham, what goes through your mind?
It's just cringe. I get, like when you're on a roller coaster and you're going up the roller coaster and then you just go straight down in that little wheezy feeling right there. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels. That's what it sounds like when you say that. Like, I don't know. He did that introductory video and he was wearing a Michigan hat. I'm just like, ew. It just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. So, I'm all on it, and it's crazy. Happy for him. Happy for his university. And man, I think we're all going in the right direction.
Yeah, I was watching the presser. It didn't land the way that I thought that it would. It was weird. It reminded me, and you're a Laker fan. I tweeted out, I'm like, this is like seeing Karl Malone in a Laker jersey when I saw Karl wearing Laker purple and gold. But nonetheless, Sly, we're here. He's in Ann Arbor. Tell me just your overall thoughts on how this entire situation has unfolded.
Man, it's been crazy because all we've been thinking about is he going to be like done? Is he done with football? He's going to ride off the sunset. He's going to take his motorcycle and just ride on the beach all day. Like, what is he going to do? But like every time I interview him in a post game, all I hear is, "Man, I love coaching. Man, I love this. Man, I love this. Man, that was crazy. I love this stuff." I'm like, it doesn't sound like you're wanting to retire. And then lo and behold, here we are. He's $8.5 million later. He's making money, man. I just think it's great. For me, a lot of people feel slighted in some type of ways. A lot of people feel XYZ in some type of things. But, like, it's just business. It's the time. It's exactly what needed to happen, what happened. And so I'm just I'm happy for Coach Witt. He gets to continue on coaching. I'm happy for Coach Scally, and this opportunity is huge, and that's all you can ask for in life is just opportunity, right? And I think Morgan Scally is going to make the most of it. We're all able to move on here, but, it's hard when you see Coach Witt literally here since 1992, and 2026 he's going to be wearing a different color blue, and it's just so weird. But I love it. It's change. Everybody has to change. It has to happen. But I'm happy for Coach Witt that he's getting continued coaching, getting to influence more and more people. And, that's the biggest thing too, right, is what these coaches have effects on people's lives, right? Coach Witt affected my life. He's affected a lot of the players' lives. Like, you imagine in the 30 years that he's been doing this, the thousands of athletes that he's had run through the program and he's affected, and now he gets to go on and continue doing that for one of the biggest universities. And so just happy for him, man. It's great, and guess we're going to have to be watching some Michigan games.
Yeah, we will. And, I've talked about this a couple of different times ever since the news broke. I've gone on a lot of radio stations because people, it's funny, Sly, in 48 hours, Coach Witt has become more of a national name than he did in 21 years as Utah's coach, and that's just the nature of how powerful Michigan football is. But you're a former player, and you would know better than I would, so I'm going to ask a couple questions that have been asked of me, and I want to get your take on what this sounds like. One of the consistent questions I've been asked is if Kyle Whittingham really wanted to continue coaching college football, why is he not continuing to do that at Utah?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's all about timing, right? Because I don't think Coach Witt knew that he was going to be done, right? I think he was just like, I don't want to do this forever. I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to be like Lavelle Edwards and coach until I'm dead. I want to do this the right way. I want to do this. I want to be able to spend time with my grandkids. And that's what the mindset of everybody was. So as a business, the University of Utah was, respecting that, investing in that. It's like, hey, man, I know you're thinking about it here in the next, 5 to 7 years. just let us know and we'll give you the time. It just every year there must have been something, and he's like, no, I got to keep going. No, I got to keep going. And there was like, Morgan Scalley is a prime. Like, a lot of people want him right now, and so we got to do our part. And how do we keep people? It's just like the NIL stuff's going on. How do we keep athletes? How are you keeping these coaches? Right? These coaches are like, and what you want to do is you want to invest in the future. I want a guy that wants to be here, that loves it here, and I don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about Morgan Scalley being the coach here at Utah. I just get, a guy. So I just think it was just time to make it happen.
Right.
And it's just his time. It's perfect.
All right. Moving over to what you're hearing about what could be next. There has not been anything official that has been announced. Most people believe Jay Hill is going to follow Kyle to Ann Arbor and leave BYU. There have been a few outlets that have reported that is as good as done, but nothing official from either Jay or Michigan or BYU. Then the reports are Kyle will target Jason Beck. I think most people are under the understanding that, Witt is going to kind of let the bowl cycle play out. The transfer portal opens on Friday, so my guess would be between now and Friday we will get some news. Kyle himself in the introductory press conference said he's bringing 7 or 8 assistant coaches with him. Any insight on what could be next as far as who follows him to Ann Arbor?
I mean, you going to throw my name in there?
There we go.
I'm just playing. No, I have no idea what's going on, man. I can just hope that, it just is a smooth transition and nobody gets hurt. I mean, it's a forever moving network right now. Everybody is changing. Everybody's on 1-year deals. There's no guys who are staying their entire careers at one place. There's no nothing right now. And so it's extremely difficult to try and get these players to stay, let alone these coaches to stay. And so, even when he gets there, Jay Hill gets there, it's like, how long is he going to stay there, right? It's just the name of the game, and it's what you have to do. You said extra large? Please. Yeah. It's just the name of the game right now. And, everybody's got to take their feelings, emotions, and whatever you used to think about what football used to be and just understand what it is now. This is what it was like in the NFL. I had a revolving door in the locker next to me with a different guy coming out every single time, right? And that's how it is with coaches. That's how it is with players now. This is just the way football is. It's crazy. It sucks. And because how I grew up watching college football is that loyalty, right? Lloyd Carr at Michigan, right? Forget the guy's name at Florida State.
Bobby Bowden.
Bobby Bowden at Florida State. Like, you just know the Mac Brown at Texas. You just know these names at those schools, and that's just not it anymore. And so everybody's got to get hip to what this new thing is, and hopefully it doesn't change for the worse, but it's just something that we all have to eventually get used to, that revolving door of people.
How much of look, the bottom line, as you referenced earlier, our guy's getting paid. Witt's going to make a lot of money, and there's that. But how much motivation do you think is there when it comes to simply just being a part of the Big 12, or excuse me, the Big 10? A lot of people in college football don't even say P4. They say P2, and that's Big 10 and SEC.
Yeah. I was just having this conversation last night, man, and it's true. I mean, I want to actually, after Coach Witt has his first year, talk to Coach Witt and just like, what's been the difference? What's been the difference? How big of a difference is it that with the resources and whatever it is, like Ohio State just being number one from week 0, and they're just going to be there all the time. Even if they lose 1 or 2, they're not going to be far off. As far as like BYU and Utah, they lose 1 game or 2 games, and they're not even being talked about anymore, right? You're going to be at a blue blood school where it's just automatic. So I just want to know, like, what is it easier? Is it as expected? Is it what? Like, it's so we just don't know. But I think that's just what it is. And, hopefully Utah can continue on and be there, because I agree with you. I think it's going to be end up 2 conferences. I said my projection was 2031, 32. I think they're going to move to AFC, NFC type thing for college football. And it might be sooner than that with how tumultuous and crazy things change. So we don't know. But those are two power conferences, and I do think that they have a lot of clout, a lot of backing, which is money, right? And the networks, the TV deals, and the supporters, and just the revolving door of money. It just controls everything. It's not about football anymore, and that's what sucks.
Talk to me, Sly, about the challenge Morgan has here. And Morgan spoke today for Vegas media availability. We're going to play that back later. And I got to be very clear about this. We don't know what the task looks like yet, but there's a good chance if we simply just go off what Witt says, I'm bringing 7 or 8 assistants with me. There's a chance Morgan has to basically rebuild his coaching staff year one as a head coach. So just generally speaking, what do you think the challenge is now for Morgan?
Well, I mean, we got to look at that too. You're saying 7 or 6 assistants. Did he say Utah assistants?
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Coach Witt has been playing at Utah for a lot of years. He's got guys like Weber State's got guys that are changing it over there. Coach Care's over there now, right? Joe Dell's been over there. Could he be an assistant? There's guys who coached there, went other places, not there anymore, could be a part of that. We don't know if that's all Utah staff he's taking. Of course, it's going to be some, because there's a level of comfortability with processes that a head coach needs to have. But I think that, Morgan is prepared for all this. He has Morgan has known he's been the coach in waiting for a long time. And so, one, I think he knows who he wants in those positions and has had a depth chart. I think he's had a depth chart of possibility. So I'm not worried about that at all. I know Morgan is very determined. Of course, everybody's first year is going to be hard because it's new, right? And so, but I think that Morgan has a lot of support, especially from the administration, this community, and the former players that believe in him and think that he's the best guy for the job.
So some news came down earlier that John Henry Daly has entered the transfer portal, Sly, and you've already articulated the fact that that's just part of the deal. And, who knows if Witt's going to grab any Utah players. But even if Kyle wasn't at Michigan, Utah, like everybody else, is going to lose just a lot of players. And then the challenge is to refill, the roster and refurbish the cupboard. But what sort of loss could this be? What sort of loss would John Henry Daly be for Utah, obviously coming back from an injury?
You know what? John Henry Daly was great in the first 4 or 5 games of the year, but we got great experience from Holtzclaw and oh my gosh, I'm forgetting my guy's name from Corner Canyon.
Cash? Is it Cash? Cash Dillon, yeah.
Yeah, I great development, great experience, great wherewithal with understanding the game, and that's why Coach Lou Power, like he said this in training camp, he's like, I've been through it where we put everything into 1 or 2 guys, and then when it came time that those guys get injured and we got to rotate guys in, nobody was healthy. We had nobody, and it sucks. So now they did a thing where they continue rotating guys to make sure everybody's good. So if we lose one guy, it's nothing. But essentially, this is, I think, Cash Dillon and Holtzclaw and the plethora of guys. We always have a defensive line. I think we're going to be fine. Of course, we got to keep investing. There's got to be new recruits that come in. There's going to be new people. But at the end of the day, I think Coach Lou Powell and Luther Ellis has done a great job with the D-line to be able to make sure that guys are ready to go.
Of course, everybody wants to be in the tournament. Everybody wants to be in the CFP bracket. Everybody wants to play for a championship, but that's not the case this year for our local schools. And BYU with a win in a fun game. I thought the Pop-Tart Bowl was actually pretty entertaining. Tell me what you're expecting coming up tomorrow. And just on paper, it is one of the better non-CFP bowl game matchups.
Yeah, man. You asked from the BYU game or from the Utah game?
No, what are you expecting tomorrow? Utah, Nebraska.
Oh, Utah, Nebraska. I think that Utah's going to roll. I mean, it's what Utah's specialty is their weakness, right? We're just going to run the football. In fact, you know what? Here, I can't even say that because here's what I think should happen, and then it doesn't. I just think that we should run the ball in so many different ways. I think we should have 3 people either close to 100 yards rushing or over 100 yards rushing. And so, as a team, I think we'll be close to 300-400 yards rushing, and that's what needs to happen in this game. We're going to control the clock, keep the defense off the field and healthy, turn the ball over. Their quarterback is not ready to go for the moment. Nebraska's kind of spinning wheels. Their best defensive player is out, and everybody's hitting the transfer portal. So they're hurting right now, so you can't give them any life.
All right, before I set you loose, I know you're in your hometown, and it sounds like I'm hearing you ask people if they're extra larges, so I would imagine you're selling some gear, Sly. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, man. I got my brand line. Everybody knows Utah Man. I've been working on that for years, and it's an official logo with the U. They've been doing a great job, but we got some good old U fans in here right now, buying some Utah Man gear. Just doing a pop-up stand here for all Utah fans getting ready for the bowl game. Everybody absolutely is going to look awesome tomorrow with all the Utah Man gear we've been selling today. But 25% off to the first 25 people in the door, and then like 15% off to everybody else who comes to show support today. So it's been awesome. We're here at Flanker Restaurant inside the Mandalay Bay, right as the escalators as you go down to the stadium. You'll see it. It's right at the bottom of the escalators. Great food here as well. But this is an awesome time. We got a huge private dining room here, so we're just hanging out. I actually got Sugar Bowl highlights running in here and other football games going on. And it's just a nice Utah environment. I'll be here all night, so everybody hear this, come drop by.
UtahMan.com, is that the website, Sly?
.co.
UtahMan.co. Okay, see, I'm so old, I thought Porter forgot to put the M on the rundown. So UtahMan.co. All right, Sly, enjoy the game. Safe travels, man. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Stevenson Sylvester, I've never done a radio interview before where my interview subject is also selling sweatshirts. Did you hear that? He's like, oh, what's that, an extra large? Yeah, Utah's going to be just fine. Our guy was trying to multitask the best he could.
I respect it. He's hustling. You're in Vegas. You got to hustle.
Sly is from Vegas.
Yeah.
He's a local.
I had to
there.
dial 702 out to get him.
I wonder if, like, when Sly goes home, I wonder what that looks like. He's hanging out with all of his old buddies. I mean, is he still, like, a big deal in Las Vegas?
I assume in some form. His mom, who joined me in studio for a pregame show once.
Nice.
She keeps him in line, though, to be very clear. He's when he goes home, mama's orders.
All right. Well, we should all listen to our mother, so that's a good thing. There's some, man, I hate this day and age of like social media newsbreakers. I don't know who to believe here. There's, On3, the college football website On3.
The guy who reports every piece of any news as if it's breaking.
Are they reputable? Like, is this an outlet that I should be reading and listening to?
So, I mean, in a way, yes. I think Brett McMurphy is involved there. Like they have reputable reporters, but they are very much a let's get a lot of clicks also.
Okay.
Right. And like I'll see things that are by no means breaking news, and they've got like this big graphic breaking, developing news to get you to click on it, and then it's just like a rumor that we've all heard 30 times.
Here's why I'm bringing it up. All right, like I don't subscribe to their stuff. I think I followed McMurphy on Twitter and some of their other recruiting outlets. And On3, for whatever it's worth, is reporting that, I'll just read the tweet. Top 100 athlete Celeste Moa signed with Utah during the early period. However, Michigan is still an option thanks to the recent hiring of new head coach Kyle Whittingham. Moa goes in depth on his situation here. # go blue. I don't know.
I mean, look, I would like to assume that is a possibility just because Kyle and Kyle's the guy that recruited Moa, but I also know that Morgan Scalley and Utah, the guys that are still at Utah, were a huge part of that recruiting process. So that's one of the big names you definitely look at if you're looking at players that maybe aren't here to stay. Obviously, Celeste Moe's not been here yet, but that's definitely one of the guys that Witt will try to, I'm sure, at least give a call to.
I think just to reduce this, to be a little reductive here, let's just operate off the assumption that Kyle Whittingham is looking to add players and coaches from both Utah and BYU and probably elsewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's part of the game. Like he said, he's not going to go about it in a way where he's poaching people, right? He's not going to try to get the whole roster to jump ship, but he's now got a different job, and that may irk some fans when they see certain names rumored there. But Kyle's getting paid now to win games in Ann Arbor, not Salt Lake, not Provo, Ann Arbor. So it's going to be a week, Spence, and how you react to it is going to be based probably on your fandom and your understanding of the sport.
Yeah, and it's still very new for a lot of people to try to wrap their arms around just how chaotic this stuff is. And, again, nothing is official. But let's be clear, this chaos is as a result of one thing, and that is failed leadership by the NCAA to not see around corners to try to avoid. And, yes, they're trying to put guardrails in place now. And we should be grown-ups here. Like, rules have always been circumvented, oftentimes behind the scenes by coaches, administrators, and middlemen, agents, uncles, and such that reach out to try to do the business of their nephew or their son. And it's all with one thing in mind, and that's to maximize your earning potential. And so if there are opportunities for these players or these coaches to make more money, I mean, we always talk about it on the show. You follow the money. If you want to know where the truth is in a society like ours, in a country like America that is just capitalism, period, and certainly leaning more and more into it when it comes to, just that being the motivation from here to the highest office in the land. You just follow the money. Where's it going? And ultimately, you'll find your answers. And whether it's Jay Hill, whether it's Jason Beck, whether it's any of the players on these rosters, Witt now has a bankroll that allows him to be very, very powerful in both player and coaching acquisition. So, again, a ton of rumors out there on both the coaching and the players side. I'll reiterate what I said earlier today. I think most of us are operating off the assumption that we won't hear anything official on the Utah coaching side of things until the bowl game is finished. I was asked on the Nebraska radio station I went on earlier today, do you think there's any chance Kyle actually, at the last second, hops on a private plane and flies to Vegas for the game tomorrow? Do you think there's any shot that I mean, the way I answered it was...
To recruit or to support?
Well, fair. But the way I answered it was, well, if I'm the interim president at Michigan, right, because it is an interim president, or if I'm Ward Manuel, I want my head coach doing his job because of how much he's being paid. But is there any sort of opportunity where Witt actually does show up to the game tomorrow, walks along the sidelines and waves at Utah fans and says, hey, I doubt it, but I was asked that question.
I'm going to say no. I mean, maybe there's a possibility of it if the schedule is open tomorrow on the Michigan side, but no, I think the all-in or in-the-way thing is real with Kyle, and that he said his goodbye. He flew down there with the team the day he ultimately went to Michigan, flew down there with the team. I think that was his form of what we're discussing now, to say goodbye to the team, wave, whatever. I don't think he's going to do that in front of a bunch of fans and in the arena.
All right, Morgan Scalley addressed the media earlier today. The Vegas Bowl media availability took place. Matt Rule, head coach of Nebraska. I thought Morgan knocked it out of the park, and you're going to hear why a lot of people believe he's the right guy for Utah football at this time. I believe Lander Barton spoke, some other Utah players and some Nebraska players as well. So we'll do a little segment where we bring you some sound from the Vegas Bowl. We're still set to be joined by Yogi Roth, and we'll move over to Andy Larson and Dave Fox. We got a busy Tuesday show. It's good to have you with us right here on ESPN 700. Breaking news out of the world of college football about a coach joining a program as an offensive coordinator. Chip Kelly is going to be the new offensive coordinator at Northwestern.
Big Ten job.
You think I just made some people nervous with
Probably.
that? All right.
Probably a little bit.
Chip Kelly was with the Raiders. It did not go well. He was fired after a 2-9 start. So Chip Kelly to Northwestern as we continue to monitor the news cycle to see if there's anything official regarding Utah, Michigan, or BYU. All right, Porter, who we got? Who we got with the sound for the Vegas Bowl media availability?
A little Morgan Scalley, a little Matt Rule, a little Devin Dampier, Lander Barton, some Nebraska players as well. They didn't really go in order, but you'll hear mostly from Matt Rule and Morgan Scalley for the first 10 or so minutes, and then it kind of veer into some player questions. Okay,
there you go. So reminder to join Porter for our Las Vegas Bowl pregame show tomorrow at 9:30. Goes to 11:30. A young Chrysler Dodge Ram Jeep, 1481 West Riverdale Road, Then kickoff for Utah, Nebraska is at 1:30 Vegas Bowl style. And in case you missed any of the sound today, here you go. Players and coaches prior to the Vegas Bowl tomorrow.
The teams have been here for several days and enjoying the activities and events the Las Vegas Bowl has scheduled for them. Now it's just a little over 24 hours to kick off tomorrow for Las Vegas Bowl 34. This will be the fifth meeting between these two teams, with Nebraska having won the previous four encounters, the last coming in 1992. Nebraska enters the game with a 7-5 record and will be playing its first ever game in the state of Nevada, and this will be the program's 55th bowl game. Representing the Cornhuskers, we have coach and accomplished zipliner Matt Rule. We have who else do we have? We have senior running back or defensive back Sierra Wright and senior offensive guard Henry Latofsky. Coach, we'll go ahead and have you give an opening remark. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. I have to tell you, this has been an absolutely amazing week. It's an honor to be here with Coach Scalley in Utah. He's a coach that I look greatly up to, and excited for him and his journey and his new opportunity. So best of luck to you. And they have a great football team. But I have to talk about the bowl week first. We're living in a time and space where people, sometimes say, who's going to go to it, who's not. Having a chance to be here one more week with these guys has been absolutely amazing. I have to thank SRS Distribution. Even talking to our players about their futures. I mean, every opportunity for our guys to advance their lives and have a better life is absolutely amazing. And then the bowl committee. I mean, I've been a part of these as a player, as an assistant coach, as a head coach. I don't know that I've ever been to a bowl opportunity, a bowl site with better hospitality, better services. I know you guys have the national championship game here next year. Coach Scalley, I know we can rematch there if you want, bro. I'd love it. And I know you guys will do a great job hosting that. I think as long as this group's in charge of things in Las Vegas, I just can't believe the opportunities that we've had this week. So we're going to go out there and play the best football game we can play. We have some guys that are banged up, aren't able to play. But we have a bunch of really good football players who are hungry, who hate the way we ended the season, but also loved some of the great moments we had during the season. And to play a great team, a top-ranked team like Utah, we believe is a fitting way for us to go out there and challenge ourselves one more time. So, again, thank you for this bowl week, the bowl experiences, not just for my players, but for my wife, for my daughters, for my son. It's been really, really special, and it's something I will always cherish.
Great. We'll hear from the Nebraska players in just a minute, but we'll turn it over to Utah now. Utah enters the game ranked 15th in the latest CFP poll with a 10-2 record. This will be Utah's 7th appearance in the Las Vegas Bowl. It's the most in Las Vegas Bowl history by any program, and it's the 28th bowl game overall. Representing the Utah Utes, Coach Morgan Scalley, junior quarterback Devin Dampier, and senior linebacker Lander Barton. Coach, opening remark, please.
I'm new to this. Apologize if any mistakes. I'm just grateful to be here, fired up for the University of Utah, to be back in a bowl game after last season, and what a season it's been. Grateful for our coaching staff. Want to first recognize Kyle Whittingham, the legend at University of Utah, and what he's done for this program, what he's done for me personally and my career, and I am so happy for him and wish him nothing but the best. He has been an incredible mentor to me, and I'm excited to see what he does at Michigan. But about this bowl, about this opportunity and this team, this is my 6th Las Vegas Bowl. I played in one, and now this will be 5 that I've coached in. The first one was against Pete Carroll at USC. That's the one I played in. And Troy Polamalu had, I think, 15 solo tackles. Unbelievable. We were able to win that one. And so this has been an amazing experience. Las Vegas has always been great to us. And John Cicenti has been amazing. And the bowl committee. Kent Gardner from SRS Distribution have made the events special for our players. The gifts that they get, it's incredible, the gifts that they get. I got, I think, a Sega something that was, I think that's the last game I've played, boys, was a Sega. Okay, the controller is completely different. But what an amazing opponent. I've known Matt Rule and respected him from his time at Baylor, moving on to the NFL, and just a very well-respected leader in this profession. And you can tell the way their team plays ball, it's going to be a physical matchup. And I was made aware that we were 0-4 by the Nebraska media. They let me know that. So it's like, all right, that's the challenge. That's the gauntlet's been set down. So we're excited for this moment. I'm excited for our players. Devin, the leader that he's been coming in just one season, and he is, the catalyst, right, for what we've been able to do. Him and our offensive coordinator, Jason Beck, defensively, and proud of Lander and the seniors. We've got about 13, 14 seniors still going to be playing in this game, and we want to send them out the right way. So grateful to be here, and thank you so much.
All right, we'll come back to the Nebraska players. Sayer, are you with your experiences this week, what stood out most for you and your teammates?
Yeah, I mean, first I'd like to just say how thankful I am and grateful to have this opportunity. It's been really awesome just this whole entire week, getting to spend it with my teammates, my family, my brothers. I'd say for me, I think that Fremont Street experience was really cool. I had never seen anything like that, and I really felt like the red carpet was rolled out for it. Well, it actually was. Like, we walked down the red carpet. But, yeah, I mean, the Las Vegas Bowl has done such a great job rolling out that red carpet for us, seeing all the extravagant lights and all of that, the family feud, the dance battle. I thought it was just really cool. You know what I'm saying? A great opportunity for us to bond. I thought it was cool that we've been doing a lot of these activities, with the Utah team, seeing them get to do the same things as well. So it's been a great time, and I'm just happy to be here.
Did you expect your coach to zip line?
I did not expect him to zip line. I definitely, they said, yeah, just look up in the sky, just wait for a second. And I look and I see him with his arms spread out. So, respect to him for getting up there.
All right, great. Henry, going in this game as a senior, your last game, what does this mean to you? And then playing with your teammates for the final time?
First I want to say, thank you to the people that, put this bowl on, all the help we've got, the whole support staff this week has been amazing. But, this game really means the world to me. Coming in my first year as a freshman, we were 3-9. So, having the opportunity to, leave this program better than I found it is, unlike any other opportunity I've had before.
That's great. All right, we'll switch over to the Utah players. Devin and Lander, we'll take both of you guys to respond to these questions about your week here in Las Vegas and anything that stands out to you.
I've been excited since we got here, especially the whole team. We worked hard to get here. I think that's the biggest thing we took out of this is we worked really hard to get out here. Let's keep that going. But just experience overall, the spirit was pretty fun. The lights and all the things they did for us, and just even us getting to our seats and all that, very professional. No problems with that at all. So thank you to the Vegas staff and getting that all done. But yeah, man, we're just excited for the opportunity to be here. One last ride for the boys. Our team is built off of love. It's very rare in the way college football is going now. It's rare to see a team that they want to go out there and play this last game for each other. Just a number of seniors that want to continue to play, not sitting out. And, man, it sparks my heart. It's like, man, this is real love that we got going on here. So I'm excited to get one more with those guys.
Lander, any adjustments for you with a head coach? I know there's familiarity with the same coaching staff, but now with Morgan in charge as the head coach, any changes, any adjustments for you and your teammates?
Really, I would say no. I mean, it's been a very smooth transition, and it kind of just happened upon us quickly. But, I mean, there's no changes. I mean, practice is structured the same way. All our schedule is the same. So, I mean, it's kind of like a new energy, a new life, really. It's exciting. The future's here. Because we knew it was coming, but we didn't know it was going to come this fast. And so, I mean, I think it's just new excitement for everybody. That's probably the biggest change.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open to questions from the media. We do have handheld microphones on each side of the room, so if you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll get you the microphone. We'll go down here on the left side, front row.
Hey, Morgan. Can you just kind of describe what the last, half a week has been for you with Whittingham leaving to Michigan and you taking over officially as head coach?
Oh, mixed emotions for sure. Did everyone hear the question? Anyway, mixed emotions. I love Kyle Whittingham. He's given me my start in the profession and has kind of mentored me throughout, like I said, my entire career. So to see him step down and move away, a lot of tears, and then, like Lander said, also a lot of excitement for my continued journey, my path. But for the players part of this program, Devin hit it nail on the head. This is not only a program, it's a family, and that's going to continue. And what the standard that Kyle Whittingham set, right? It's always tough. You don't want to be the guy that follows the guy. Well, I am that guy, but I'm extremely confident in moving forward, and also preparing for this game. It's all about the game, right? Any bowl experiences I've ever been to, you remember the game and the outcome more than anything. And the events have been incredible. But we are here, and we are here to play the game. We're here to win. And that's what our guys understand.
We'll stay in the front row on the left here.
Morgan, obviously you have a lot that's going to probably happen in the next 5 days here with the portal opening up.
No.
Just where do you stand with certain players on where they might go? And also, Jason Beck is reportedly the target candidate for Kyle's OC job at Michigan. Have you had any conversations with him or any of your assistant coaches on that?
We're focused on this bowl and sending out our seniors the right way. And, is there a plan in place? You better believe it. And our players understand, and this is what college football is now. Change is going to happen, right? And how you handle that says everything about your program. So my job is to sell Utah and to prepare for the future of this program, and that's what we're doing. But the priority number one is sending these guys out the right way, and then we'll move on from there.
Next question will come from the camera platform, back right.
Matt, Cam talked about it this week, how Bud Crawford's win here in Vegas is an inspiration for him as he enters the Las Vegas Bowl. Is that a sentiment that the team shares, or a lot of players and coaches?
And I'm sorry, you said who said that?
Cam Lenhart.
Cam. We haven't really spoken too much about that. We haven't spoken really much globally as a team, other than just kind of day by day going out there and making sure we attack the day. I know personally, I had a chance to come out here and see Bud fight. He was an underdog. As he said to me, I've been an underdog my whole life. He had really no motivation to fight other than he wanted to prove that he could do it 3 times, that he's the pound-for-pound greatest fighter in the world. And I shared with our team at the time that the willingness to put your name out there, the willingness to be laughed at, the willingness to step out into the arena and hopefully win but maybe fail is something that I take from Bud Crawford all the time. His loyalty to Nebraska, his loyalty to Omaha, but also the fact that he doesn't care what people say. He's going to go out there and lay it down. So, yeah, we enter this game knowing that probably a lot of people don't give us much of a chance. But, that has nothing to do with us, how other people see us. We have infinite respect for them. We also respect ourselves. And one of the things I said when I got here is, I think one of my first media days, was that we were going to have to bring respect back to the way Nebraska plays football. Hearing Henry say that when he got here, they were 3-9, I can tell you warms my heart. to see what he's done. I haven't done it. He's done it. Sierra's done it. And so, yeah, we're not going to take the field, walking on the field like underdogs. We might stroll out there with the belief in ourselves that Bud has. And you need great opponents to do that. Bud needed to fight a great opponent. We need to play against a great football team, the number 15 team in the country. And it's only in those moments that you find out if you really are who you say you are. You know, do you really believe in yourself when no one else believes in you?
Next question will come down here in the middle, front row.
Morgan, with you taking over as head coach this game, who will be calling plays on the defense? Will you still be doing that, or are you going to give that to somebody else on staff?
I'll be calling the plays on defense.
We'll stay right down here in the middle.
Devin, obviously you've mentioned that you've wanted to stay in Utah, but a lot has changed and a lot could change in the next 5 days. Just where do you stand on your future? You know, how are you considering things just with Kyle leaving to Michigan? I mean, where's your head at in that?
Yeah, you know, I think Coach Scally touched on that. Man, it's for real, it's this game. We got to get this game out the way. There's a lot of seniors that I've been playing for this whole entire year, so that's honestly where my focus is at overall. But man, I can't say enough how much I love being a Ute. Since I've gotten here, I knew coming here that Scally was going to have his opportunity back then before I even came here. So I knew what the situation was when I signed up for this. So you know, I'm very confident in what the future holds.
Next question on the right side here, third row.
This is for Henry and Sierra. I would hope you could expound on Coach Rule's thoughts about being an underdog, and also the thing that we've kind of heard this week in Vegas thing of doubling down, not being scared to play this game despite being a 14-point dog. What's your guys' confidence level coming into this game, and what do you hope to prove?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I look at that, like, I don't really deal in the business of underdogs or whatever else it is, like point differences and all that, you know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, like, we're a team full of men, they're a team full of men. Like, we've been practicing, they've been practicing, you know what I'm saying? So it's not about what somebody's done in the past or what somebody may do in the future. It's about what you do in that moment, you know what I'm saying? So we could say who's an underdog or who's not, but I don't think that really has any bearing on how we feel. You know, I'm confident in my team. I love my team. And I respect who we're playing against, for sure. You know, they're a great team as well, but at the end of the day, it's just about who shows up to play. So, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I look at it as, you know, kind of been, at least I feel like I've been an underdog my whole life. So there's really nothing new for me. You know, we're not a team composed of a bunch of 5 stars, right? And we know that. And, you know, that's the chip we carry with us on our shoulder. You know, nobody really outside of even the local media really believes in us. You know, that's the way we approach every day, all season, is that we're the underdogs.
Down here in the front row on the left.
Morgan, what would you say is your biggest challenge taking over as head coach?
My biggest challenge taking over as head coach. Oh, man. I think to be able to be true to myself and who I am as a coach and not be try to be Kyle Whittingham, not try to be Urban Meyer, not try and be Ron McBride, the coaches that have mentored me along the way. You know, culture is what you believe, how you behave, and the experience that's delivered by that behavior. And the number one thing that I want to be able to establish is what is that culture. You know, a lot of those elements are going to continue from what Kyle did, but it's getting people, getting everyone on board and moving that same direction is what our culture is going to be. You cannot outperform the culture that you want in your program. You just can't do it. So I'd say that's the biggest challenge.
We'll stay on the left side, second row.
Sierra, this one's for you. With all the changes on staff defensively, what will fans see tomorrow from will they notice a difference?
I think what you will see tomorrow from our team is a ton of energy. That's what I feel like I've noticed the most throughout our practices. I feel like we have kind of a new life, new inspiration in the team. And it's really cool. I feel like people are playing light, you know what I'm saying, having fun, cutting things loose, kind of how Coach Rule has been saying. And I think that's going to show up tomorrow. So, yeah, when it comes to, you know, staff changes or anything. I think that what that has done is caused, people to have a little bit of new energy about them. So I think that's going to show up.
Next question will be on the left side again, on the third row towards the middle.
Henry, can you just expand on that thought about leaving the program better where you found it? Just outside of the wins and obviously getting back to the postseason, what areas you feel like the senior class did that the most, and just your confidence that the guys that will be back next year can continue that?
Yeah, leaving the place better than we found it is so much more than the number on our record. It has a lot to do with the culture that I'm leaving behind. Just how tight our brotherhood is. How hard we work, the way we attack things day in, day out. I mean, it's a completely different program than what I stepped into 5 years ago. And, I think a large part of that is Coach Rule. He brought with him, his standards. And, from day one, it was like, you guys better live up to these standards because these standards work, right? And we've seen the progress that we've made. And, we know there's a lot more jumps to be made yet. But trust me, we're on the right track with that.
Next question from the right side, second row.
Hey, Matt, it was mentioned yesterday Deshaun won't be able to play in this game. Could you just speak on what he's meant to this program and maybe how you feel that space on tomorrow?
Yeah, Deshaun wanted to play in this game. He's out there every day at practice. We encouraged him to go have a procedure to work on his knee, IT band, give him a chance to play in the Senior Bowl and some of those other things. But a large part of that is also some of the other guys that are going to step up. Justin Rhett has been waiting his turn, and he's an excellent football player. He transferred in, he got hurt in the preseason, so we never quite saw. He's just gotten better and better and better every week. Rex Guthrie, I think there's been 4 or 5 times this year when an NFL guy said to me, like, hey, what year's 21? He just doesn't know how good he is yet. He sometimes still plays like, hey, I'm a redshirt freshman. I think he's made growth. And someone that means a great deal to me, who's not up here, is Marquise Buford. This is a guy that, intercepting balls 3 years ago, tears his ACL for the second time, comes back, redshirts our first year, plays last year. The wear and tear of the season starts to take a toll on him. He had to step back from being a starter, but he never stepped back from being a captain. And you can't say that for everybody in life, but you can say that about Marquise. He's emerged from this season a true winner. And this month off has been really good for him. He looks like he did at training camp. He's flying around, he's running. So I think you'll see a bunch of those different guys out there playing. I just can't say enough about Deshaun, though, what he's meant. It was a year ago that probably a little less than a year ago, he and I were sitting at Easy Bird, what's it called, Easy Bird? Early Bird, and talking about whether he should go, the NFL or not. And I told him I'd go to the National Football League if I were you. And held back, came back for another year. And, he is the same guy, though, who took in his brother DJ. And if you see where DJ is now compared to where he was started, like Deshaun, I would say he won because he took care of his family. And DJ's a great member of our team right now. Deshaun, same as a senior, same as a leader, same as a player. I just can't say enough about Deshaun.
Next question in the middle, front row.
Lander, you've been around Morgan for a long time. You've seen how he operates. Obviously, this game is going to have a majority of kind of what you guys have done this year, but what can fans or anybody else expect Morgan to be like as a head coach?
From what I've seen this week in just a few days watching Coach Scally as a head coach, I think you can expect a lot of energy on the sideline from him. He emanates energy every day in the building and just laughing, joking around. But then when it's time to get serious and go to work, he can do that. You can buckle up and it's time to go. But it's fun to be out there when you can just be loose and be yourself, and you have trust in your coaches, and you know that your coaches are having fun out there too. So I think you'll be able to see that tomorrow on the field. Just see that different energy on the sideline.
Stay on the left side, right in the middle.
Sear, can you just expand on Coach Rule's thoughts about Marquise, just what you noticed, how he handled not playing, maybe playing as much as he expected this year, and what he did throughout the season?
Yeah, I think that, the season comes with a lot of trials and tribulations, and I feel like that everybody experiences those, and I feel like Marquise did experience that this year, and I think that, the way that he handled that is the testament of a man, you know what I'm saying? I think Marquise has, like he said, he's continued to be a captain throughout the entirety of the season, continued to lead the team, and I think that is, I tip my hat to him, and I'm very appreciative of that to him for that. Being a captain, it's a difficult job, and you need the people that are captains with you to be there for you. You know what I'm saying? And having him, leading the team has been great for us. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he's pushed the team forward. And even though maybe his role wasn't what he always wanted it to be, he never let that change the way that he showed up to work. And I think that we had talked about standards over feelings throughout the season, and that was something where he had a standard that he signed up to as a captain, and he continued that throughout the entirety of the season. So I have the most respect for Marquise for that.
Next question will come from the camera deck on the far right side.
Matt, you've had some opinions about college football in Las Vegas. Now that you've seen the red carpet literally rolled out for college football, does that change your opinion about football in the city?
This has been excuse me. This has been amazing, and it's been an amazing experience. And I've been transparent. Sometimes my Italian nature takes its toll. Early in the morning, they ask me, and I've told people I was upset that the Big Ten, moved meetings here, not because of Las Vegas, but because everybody on the East Coast and has to keep. We now go to Los Angeles for meetings. We now go to Vegas for meetings, and I just feel like since we've added the Pac-12 teams in, we've tilted the league towards them. Maryland and Rutgers, they've had their thoughts, and so I've told the Big Ten this, like, hey, do one event in the West Coast, one event on the East Coast, because it gets really hard when I'm speaking in Florida to fly. That being said, I said it the wrong way. It's a good lesson for these guys. I told these guys, I think at one point, like, just sometimes you should just keep something to your side. Had I had my coffee first, I probably wouldn't have said that. But I do apologize for that, and I do apologize for anyone that it bothered and it hurt, because I've been here now 4 times in the last calendar year. I came out and saw Kenny Chesney. I hung out with Dan Mullen that night, PJ Fleck. I came out for the Big Ten Media Days. I came out for Bud's fight. And I came out for, obviously, this week. And even after the game's over, we're not leaving. We're going to stay for another couple days. So I can't take back what I said. I can try to explain it. But I'm pretty confident my wife, my 2 daughters, our nanny, my mom have spent enough money this week that Vegas should be good with me. And so we did the best we could to contribute to the tourism business.
All right, if you missed any of that, it's all up on our website. I thought Morgan really handled everything with class. Some tough questions there. ESPN700sports.com. We'll catch a quick break. Yogi Roth, our old buddy, joins us coming up next right here on ESPN 700. All right, set your alarm. Tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Make sure to join Porter for our Las Vegas Bowl pregame show, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 at Young Chrysler Dodge Ram Jeep, 1481 West Riverdale Road. Of course, kickoff will be at 1:30 Mountain Time, and we'll have you taken care of. Bill Riley, Stevenson Sylvester, Scott Mitchell. But our next guest, holy smokes, who would have thought that we would actually have Big Ten content to talk about with our guy Yogi Roth from the Big Ten Network. Yogi, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Happy holidays. Love hearing your voice, man. Love hearing your voice. Fired up to chat with you today.
No, I always appreciate your time, and of course, we miss you. But I don't know if you've been following the news cycle, Yogi. Michigan football has a new head coach. I'm not sure if you've heard.
Yeah, well, as somebody who tries to be a modern voice in college football, I have heard. I have not been under a rock. Even though I wanted to be the day after Christmas, I was like, can we all just take a beat? But no, that didn't happen. And thrilled for him, thrilled for Michigan, and equally thrilled for Utah. You know, I don't know the nitty gritty like you probably do. You all live it and talk it every day. I hear a bunch of stuff out here in LA, but I think net, it's probably a real positive on a bunch of levels for people moving forward. And all I am is hoping next year, like those two teams are playing the Rose Bowl, and I get to be a part of it because that would be fun.
Yeah, in fact, we had the nerve to say that to start the week as well. You know, Michigan winning the Big Ten, Utah winning the Big 12, and meeting each other in the CFP. But look, you know Whit in a way that maybe not a lot of people around the Big Ten do, Yogi. And it's been interesting because in 48 hours, Kyle kind of became this national figure in a way that he kind of wasn't in 21 years here in Salt Lake, because that's the nature of the Michigan job. But based off of what you know about Whit, based off of what you know about Michigan, what gives you confidence that this is going to work for both sides?
It's a really astute and not surprised, thoughtful lens that you have, because I think you're right on, you know, Kyle Whittingham. What used to always, you know, frustrate me, especially working in the Pac-12 for as long as I did, was, man, like we can get caught up in like this blue blood conversation. And it's like, well, let's just look at like reality. Like it doesn't have to be like the teams that my dad rooted for. You know, how about just the last 15 years or whatever it was at the time when you're kind of making these arguments? It's like Tyler Huntley, Zach Moss, kind of that era of Utah. Of course, Cam Rising took it to another level with the Rose Bowl appearances. But you always felt like, God, he's just not getting the respect that, like, I think this guy and this program should have. I mean, no one would argue he's a Hall of Fame coach at Utah. Like, that was going to happen, and that will happen whenever the time allows it to be. But I think you're right, and I say this I didn't expect it. Like, when I was looking for a job and you start interviewing around the country, the knowledge on the West Coast mirrored the coverage or the regard for Gardner Minshew, right? Not a lot of people knew a lot about what went on. And that's just the truth. And I think numbers back it up. Now, being in the Big Ten for the last few seasons and for the next few seasons, like there is some truth to the giants of Michigan and Ohio State and driving a narrative. And also a truth when you look at the teams that have won the last two national championships. So now that Kyle gets there, you're right. Like his star has only grown. And I think when you add in how low it has been at Michigan, and something none of us, you know, covering Michigan every day or talking about Michigan every week would have ever presumed that would go down within the walls of that facility, even amid like some obviously some issues that they've had within the walls of that facility. Nobody thought it would be what it was over the last couple of weeks. So you put all that together and you add Kyle Whittingham and you're like, yep, savior arrived, true CEO, a stoic, an absolute winner, a disciplinarian, an intimidator in the Big Ten at Michigan at a blue blood. And you're right. I mean, he's earned the praise and he's getting it tenfold now based on his new position in Ann Arbor.
You know, it was a pretty wild news cycle, Yogi, because as you know, I mean, back when we were old Pac-12 buddies, we were talking back then about when Kyle was probably going to walk away. No one fully knew. I think a lot of people were operating off the assumption it was happening a year ago, and then they just had such horrible luck with health. That season went the wrong way. And to Whit's credit, he said, I'm not leaving it like this. I want to go out on a higher note. And nobody blamed him for that. Turn it around, 10 wins, right outside the CFP. Program's in a good place. So I think a lot of people were expecting this to happen. But the way it all unfolded, Kyle, it's announced that he's stepping down. And we get the email right before our show starts. So, of course, we're blowing out our rundown and we're just leaning into the news. And then as the show is about to end, the Sharon Moore news drops. And we're going, okay, wait a second here. Because I don't know how many people thought Kyle was going to jump back into coaching right away. Because as Witt said at his introductory press conference, there were only a handful of jobs that would have motivated him to answer the phone. But after the Michigan thing became official, and then, the rumors about Kalen DeBoer were shut down and Kenny Dillingham signs this extension at ASU. We talked on the show, and our friend Gordon Monson from the Tribune wrote about why this makes so much sense. And so, ultimately, I don't know that anybody at the University of Utah had any idea Kyle would be back in the game this quickly, and certainly back in the game with one of the top, 4 or 5 jobs in America. But now that you're with the Big Ten, give all of us out here in Salt Lake City just a frame of reference for what a big job it is to be the head coach of Michigan.
It's massive, man. I mean, it's bigger than you think. And I say that with all due respect to every job, because I talk to coaches all the time, from Paris, a team that I work with called the Paris Musketeers, to my flag football team and everything in between. And every head coach, me included, you think your job is the most meaningful one on planet Earth because you're in it. You're insulated in it. You're busting your tail in it. You're working every day at it. But I could just tell you the Michigan job is even bigger. And I think there's only a handful: Texas, Michigan, Ohio State. There's some Georgia. There's some that Alabama, USC. There's some that just feel that way. And that is a huge part of their history, the proud tradition, the fandom, the lunacy of the fandom. Like it's all parts are a part of this thing for Kyle Whittingham. And I think he's walking in there with tremendous respect. And the fans that I've talked to, there's a very small number that aren't in absolute support of this. And those, it's often like, is he too old? Which I think all of us agree that Kyle Whittingham, number one, will never act whatever age says on his birth certificate. He's always going to be youthful. He's always going to have juice. He'll give energy, and he wouldn't take it if he didn't have it. So I'm with you there. I think if we thought like there was going to be a pseudo trade and, okay, we're going to lose our coach at Utah and Coach Witt's going to go to Michigan, I don't know many people that would have been like, yeah, that's reality. But that's the reality that Utah fans, I'm sure, are sitting in, and the ones that I've heard from, at least out here in LA, that's kind of probably maybe the challenging position that they're in, or the exciting one that they're in based on their lens on it. But for those of you that are wondering how big the job is, it's huge. And I'll say this, the game hasn't changed. It's still 11-11. The physicality from a Utah perspective won't change. And I've always felt this, when a realignment happened, of all the teams that fit the Big Ten profile, Utah did. Honestly, and I know that they obviously didn't go to that league, and they were the ones kind of hanging to the end to try to keep the Pac-12 and its former state alive and really strong. But tough with the line of scrimmage, really good on special teams, above average but not elite quarterback play, above average but not elite skill perimeter players. Like that's what a lot of the Big Ten is. Now, to win in the Big Ten in this new expanded world, you got to get a premium QB. They have the potential there in Bryce Underwood. That's going to be, I think, part 2 of Kyle Whittingham getting the job, is not only convincing him to stay, it sounds like he will, but then how is he going to develop? Is Coach Beck coming along? I don't know if that's confirmed or not. You all would know better than me. But that's going to be the difference, because this team has all the tools. They got 3 redshirt freshmen starting on the offensive line this year. They got a team that I don't think is going to hit the portal because they're so proud to be, as they would call, Michigan men. And I think they got a schedule next year. If they can beat Oklahoma in the early non-conference at home, like Kyle Whittingham and Michigan got a shot to get to the CFP, a place that Utah has not gone in the expanded playoff, which is just wild when you kind of piece all this thing together, man. But it's a huge job, and it's a big-time opportunity, and I think he'll make this team much better in a very short period of time.
So we've had a couple of people on, Michigan folk that pull for the team or cover the team, and I want to move over into the space of what is different now about the pressure that Witt will face. There were a couple of years here early on after he got the job when Urban left, where we had a couple of 5 and 7 years, and a lot of people were wondering if he could coach P4 football. Well, you go 5 and 7 at Michigan, and the pressure is a little bit different than it is at Utah here in Salt Lake. So what sort of new level of a microscope, a critical lens with the pressure of that fan base and that community is Kyle facing now?
Oh, it's real. I mean, and I think at any of these big-time jobs, you are not guaranteed what your contract presents itself in terms of time on task. You got to win. I don't, and I think they will win. But if you go 3 and 8, see ya. 3 and 9, it's just not going to fly with the amount of money being poured into these rosters. It's just the current reality of the game. And I'd argue that in any league, but definitely within the Big Ten and these blue bloods, when you look at the amount of money on top of revenue sharing that is poured into roster acquisition, retention, recruiting, staffing. So yeah, man, it's a different pressure cooker. I mean, Utah, Kyle took it to a new standard, which was get to the conference championship game. When they entered the Big 12, I went on your show, we talked about it. We thought Utah would be the bully and run roughshod in that league and own that league. Clearly that hasn't happened in the style in which probably anybody thought it would happen. In the Big Ten, it is a battle, man. It feels like NFL light every weekend. Look at Northwestern. They just hired Chip Kelly to be their offensive coordinator. Think about that. You look at the Minnesota's, the tough outs, if you will. They're winning 7 games every year, but they are taking everybody to the end. And then you've got your 4 or 5 premium brands with Penn State, obviously with the resurgence, I think, with Matt Campbell now taking that thing over. So it is every week. And that's why I think he'll do well because of, where his focus was when he was at Utah. Vulture, also special teams, also winning in the margins. I mean, Utah, and I think Kyle Whittingham is known for managing the game at a really premium level. So he's going to have to do that in this league. I mean, that's the truth. Last year, 31 conference games decided by a touchdown or less. This year, over 30 again. I don't know what the final number moved in 32, 33. But that's what a lot of this is. So I can't wait to see how he does it. I'm so curious to see if he is full hands-on everything, like it's year one again at Utah. Is it true CEO and he's going to bring over, half his staff, if not more, from Utah to guys that know how his machine operates? That'll be the part that I can't wait to learn about in the spring and then eventually talking to players. But make no mistake, man, this is a big-time job with big-time opportunity with huge stakes and a ton of pressure. And I think Kyle is built for it. I don't think he's going to wilt. I think it seems like he's kind of running towards it of what a cool opportunity. This is my final chapter. Let it rip. And I can't wait to see how it shakes out. I think it'll be a really good thing for college football if Michigan can be back. And I think Kyle being in this chair is going to be fun for the game. And selfishly, I can't wait. I've been telling my colleagues, get ready for your production meetings. You get 20 minutes. You're in and out. Coming off of a workout. You'll be ready to roll. Shoot you straight. Have your questions ready, and away you go.
Yeah, and the other thing, as you well know, and you'll be great because you're going to be covering Witt at Michigan, is there just isn't a better guy, and this is a very safe hire for a program that badly needs a palate cleanser. I mean, look, the past 4 or 5 years, there's been winning. There's a national championship even, but the Harbaugh stuff, the show cause probation, the sign stealing, and then what just happened with Sharon Moore. So as it pertains to Michigan just needing a steady ship in the night, this also feels like the right thing for them in that direction, yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah. And that's why I think just coming off of Rose Bowl media days here in L.A., a ton of national media people are here. So you're asking them, what do you think? What do you think? And I think the overwhelming arc is exactly what you said. And I think the addition to it or addendum to it might be 1 year. It might be 2 years. But I don't think anybody's thinking he's going to be there for the next 5. But again, I would say, I thought in 2021, and I'm interviewing Kyle Whittingham on the floor of the Rose Bowl, and I'm saying to myself, is this the last time I'm going to talk to this guy in this type of setting? So I thought he was going to retire for the last 5 years, and shut it down and go to Maui or go skiing or whatever it would be. So I wouldn't put anything against him. I mean, we could be sitting here in 5 years and he just signed another extension because they've gone to 3 straight CFPs. I wouldn't put anything past him in that regard.
So you reference, what this could mean for the community here. And I thought you did a good job kind of coming into the interview outlining, we live in this day and age of media and social media where you have to have a hot take. And if it's good for somebody, it must be bad for another. We're not a zero-sum game show. You try to acknowledge what this can mean for everybody. And I think Morgan is ready. I think he has been ready. But the fear that's kind of permeating right now, Yogi, in the community, as Witt said himself, introductory press conference Sunday morning in Orlando. And I was surprised that he actually said this when asked about filling out his staff. He said, I'm going to bring 7 or 8 assistant coaches with me and then retain 2 or 3 that are on staff. He's going to keep the running backs coach there that's in Ann Arbor. And we haven't heard anything official. But I think the concern now is how many of those 7 or 8 coaches he's bringing with him are coaches that are coaching on Utah's roster now, whether it's Jason Beck or Lewis Powell or Sharif Shah, et cetera. And then what does that mean for the task that Morgan could potentially have to rebuild a good portion of his staff the first year he's a head coach? I mean, a lot of interesting ramifications have yet to be announced.
Yeah, well, that's the dance that goes on right now. So I think they're both worthy of having a deep dive into as I'm driving in a beautiful day here and heading to the Rose Bowl here in Southern California.
Nice.
To bring up some good memories for Utah fans. I know they loved coming here for this game. I'll say this, with Coach Witt going to Michigan and potential staff going with him. And again, I'm just shooting you straight. I'm not saying I love this, but what I continue to hear among people in college football is, how do we get to the Power 2? Right? It used to be get to the Power 5. And then it was, how do we get to the Big Ten? Or how do, all in that year of crazy realignment. Now I hear a lot of that. And I don't know what that's about. If that's about resources, money on top of NIL, just being at the, most competitive or more well-resourced leagues, or the most viewed leagues, whether it's media partners or dollars, if we're talking about the SEC and ESPN, or the Big Ten with NBC, CBS, Fox, Big Ten Network. I don't want to pretend I know what people say, but I'm just telling you, I hear a lot of that. So I wonder as a coach, because you can't play anymore, so you're just driven to be really competitive. I wonder for some of it's, I want to see what this is all about. I think there's a curiosity there because Kyle, as we know, has been in Utah for a long time. A lot of his staff has been there too. So I wonder if there's a desire for change. I don't know the intricacies of ages of kids and families, and I think we all know so much of that is weighed on this decision for many people involved. I think when I flip it back to Morgan, I think the most exciting part about being a head coach is you get to build your staff. You get to build your culture. You get to build your roster. You get to communicate it to a daily. You get to delegate. And I've been told, and I'm sure you would confirm this, that over the last couple of years, he's gotten more and more responsibility. Right? More and more times he's been allowed into the quote-unquote head coach's mind, office, decisions, roster, money, retention, how are we, portal, you name it. So I think Morgan's actually coming in with a head of steam in this thing, and he'll pivot it his way, but he was coached by Urban and Kyle, trained by Kyle. I don't think much is going to change outside of the very specific things he wants to. So I'll be really curious to see, what that back and forth is like. Also, the one thing that I think Morgan's probably had a pretty good purview on as the face of the defense for a while is, for a long time, as we know, that offense was changing every couple years, whether it was Dennis Erickson or Troy Taylor, or there's a bunch of names that we all know, over Aaron Roderick. I'm just kind of going through my Rolodex of offensive coordinators. So he's seen coaches change. And I think that's a positive for a coach that's been at one spot for as long as he's been, because often guys don't see that when they've been at one school for so long. They just know one way and that's it. But because he's seen so much change on that other side of the ball, I think it's prepared him for this of, okay, I'm building out my staff constantly. Who might it be? If we lose our OC, who will it be? What style wins in this league? What do I have challenges defending against? So I'm not too worried about that. I think a lot of that is oftentimes based on, who's winning the social media narrative. I think what it could impact is players. And that's what I'll be curious most about, I think, when the dust settles, is are position players following position coaches, following coordinators, head coaches, or are they staying because they value Utah? And I think that is a big challenge for athletes now of, am I going to said school for that school and that institution, or am I going because a coach has committed X amount of dollars within this specific scheme to me. And that will be the dance over the course of the next 2.5, 3 weeks as the portal opens in a matter of days.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I said a little bit earlier. So some good points there. I mean, we don't turn on the TV to watch the coach's coach. We don't pay money for tickets to watch the coach's coach. We want to see the players do their thing. And you referenced Bryce Underwood. Should the rumors that appear to be gaining a lot of steam become true that Jason Beck joins Kyle in Ann Arbor to be Michigan's offensive coordinator, I mean, he was awesome this year for Utah. Utah was the best rushing team in the Big 12. One of the best rushing teams in the country. Some metrics were leading the country, and Devin Dampier follows Jason to Salt Lake. He led the Big 12 in QBR, and Devin has not announced his intent yet. He's kind of alluded gently to the potential of coming back. It kind of feels like he's actually waiting to release something on his socials, something that, you know, with a lot of fanfare. But if Bryce Underwood does not come back, then that could change the equation that Devin does end up in Ann Arbor. But I wanted to ask you, based off your knowledge of Bryce, if Jason's the OC, what does that QB-OC fit look like?
I think it's beautiful. I'm a huge Coach Beck fan. I've tracked his career for a while now, studied, obviously, since he got to Utah. You know, in the offseason, I get a lot of phone calls from coaches saying, hey, what do you think of this OC? Because maybe I called a couple of their games or whatever, and his name came up with, I think, 3 or 4 staffs last year. I mean, there was a lot of insight, and I know he had a lot of opportunity, which he should, because he's really good. He goes to Michigan, and Bryce Underwood decides to stay, which I would recommend him doing. I think that place is just, you know, nobody's bigger than any of these college programs, but especially Michigan. Like, Tom Brady's not a bigger alumni than the Michigan program. And I think Bryce Underwood, a guy who grew up, you know, nearby, I think he understands that. You saw him play like a freshman at times. You saw him play like a vet at times. But he's got so much ability. I mean, really. And I think in this offense where he can use his legs and get refined as a passer, he put himself in a really advantageous position, especially if you project out 2 years, right, within this system, assuming Jason doesn't, you know, take a head job or get that offer, which is really obviously hard to predict at this stage of the game. He's going to get an absolute star, you know, big time. If Bryce leaves, I'll be really curious to see what they do. I'd imagine somebody comes with them just based on familiarity. But I'll say this in this league, in the Big Ten, and I'll go back to it. Look at the 3 teams in the CFP from the Big Ten: Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. Those 3 quarterbacks are top 10 picks because they're passers. You know, I just think that in this league, it's so talented, especially at the top. And as I referenced, the middle of the league, they're all tough outs. You've got to be able to spin it, and you've got to be able to be really accurate to win 11, 12, 13, 15 games. You know, and so I'd be curious, you know, if Bryce chose not to go, what they decided to do in year one, because the portal is full of talented players at that position, or if they took somebody who, you know, could hit the ground running, which I wouldn't belabor them either way. But I'm just telling you, what wins in this league, in my opinion, really wins is a version of the 3 that are in the playoff right now.
Do you believe, you know, I was chuckling following the news cycle, Yogi, like right after the news came down that Witt was taking the Michigan job. Michigan received commitments that were reaffirmed by offensive linemen, commitments that were reaffirmed by Rush Edger. And then their 4-star wide receiver just decommitted. He's like, I got to find another place to play after Kyle took the job. And obviously that's a running joke around here because Utah football just is not known as a team that more or less is airing it out. You referenced Cameron's couple of years when he was elite, Tyler Huntley, and we've had other quarterbacks here or there. But when it comes to what you just outlined, does Kyle have that in him to embrace maybe something that's a little bit more vertical with a quarterback that is a classic pocket passer and can really spin it?
Yeah, well, the good thing is the current roster's got some playmakers on it. You know, Michigan's been down at wide out the last few seasons. This year it took strides, and to me has some real deep threat playmakers that'll be on display in their bowl game as you watch them against Texas. And I think, you know, among all the things that have changed, one hasn't. You got a quarterback, you can go recruit skill, especially somebody like Bryce Underwood. So I think I don't read too much into that. I also think that in this era of decommitments, especially at a place like Michigan, or a place that's had a coaching change, like we got to give the players a little bit of and I'm not saying you're not, but give them a little bit of a beat, hey, maybe Sharon Moore was the lead recruiter. I don't know, for the player that you referenced, but anybody who's been connected to Michigan has just gone through the unthinkable, when you look at, one day he's got a press conference and 24 hours later he's, got a image all over the internet from, from jail. Like it's just unthinkable. Like no one could have predicted that for the Wolverines or Sharon Moore. It's just sad all around. So who knows how it shakes, and we know how this recruiting thing goes. But I don't think Kyle, maybe to your point, like walks into Ann Arbor with, oh yeah, this guy just runs the football. We're not explosive. Like that's not accurate. I mean, look at the offenses that he had when guys were healthy. To your point of what Jason Beck did this year, running the football, I would run it too if I had those two quarterbacks who were so dynamic with their legs as well. Everybody knows that's nearly impossible to defend, but I'd imagine if they had passed, they'll push the ball down the field, but still win the ways Ohio State wins, the way that Oregon wins, the way that Indiana wins. They all run the football, and the play action RPO game is a huge part of all three of those programs. And I keep coming back to it, man. Like if you want to win, and I'd argue if you want to win big in college football, you have to have that. You have to have one of those premier players. Today, Michigan has that on their roster, potentially, if he takes the next step, which I think Bryce Underwood will take heading into next season.
Yeah, it was more the timing of, Witt takes the job, the wide receiver decommits. It certainly, I wasn't drawing like the straight line. I just was like, man, I wonder if he's been watching Utah tape. And we haven't had a 1,000-yard wide receiver since Drez Anderson around here, which was like 2014. But I also wanted to, before I say you lose, I always say we're very fortunate to have BYU versus Utah here. We have a great college football rivalry, so college football fans around here know what a rivalry actually feels like. But how big and how consequential is Michigan-Ohio State?
Well, I think in a vacuum, it's just as big as the one you referenced, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, the Apple Cup, like the ones that your community has gotten to know over the years, Territorial Cup. Like I think that it feels the same. What's different is like the coverage. And I think the big thing in the Big Ten that has really jumped out to me is these alumni bases are huge. Like the fandom is crazy. Like I call a Rutgers-Purdue game, two winless teams at the time in the Big Ten, and it's damn near sold out. I'm saying to myself, if that was in the Pac-12 and those two teams were there, there'd be 30,000 people in the stand. So you would now add Michigan and Ohio State and those brands and those rivalries and the legendary coaches that have gone through it and the games and the flag planting and blah, blah, blah. And it's crazy. I also think, and this is the Pete Carroll in me, I also think for the programs that make games bigger than what they appear, which is 60 minutes, 120 by 53 and a third, you put yourself at a disadvantage. And you go back and you study that element, and there's a reason why teams often don't play to what their, call it, potential is or consistency within that season is in big games, because they just make them too big. And I think a big part of Kyle early on will be how he navigates that. It's one thing publicly. Everybody's going to say what they're going to say, right? Every coach says it at their opening presser. He had a fun little, side remark at his of like, can I say that, that word or that school? Like, I think that's all fun and fair. But I think within the walls of your program, I'm just not a fan of like every day we look at a clock that counts down to this game. And I think when you look at how teams have managed that rivalry, Harbaugh made it the biggest thing in the world. Urban Meyer did. A lot of guys do. I think that's why you see inconsistent performances. I thought this year Ryan Day and how he approached it, even a year ago, and Sharon and their upset, how they approached it was pretty steady. And I'd imagine Kyle will be that same way with an edge to him. So we'll see, but it'll be huge. It'll be I don't think too foreign to him in terms of what a rivalry feels like, because we know what that BYU one has been. He knew it as a player and of course as a coach, but it's such a big deal nationally. Like it is, and maybe that's like the final point here is like the amount of eyes that you feel on you at Michigan is different, and that is like you go to the gas station, get ready for 6 questions, right? Like you lose a recruit and you're the whatever coach and this kid just decommitted. Look out. Like that's the difference to me that I found at the Alabamas, the true old school blue blood programs, the deep rooted fandom is different. And I'm sure Kyle will embrace that. And also, I'm sure there'll be times where he sees the dark side of that. That's what happens in this sport. And I'd imagine he knows how to handle it and block it out. But that'll be something that might be a little bit new regarding the players and how they feel, and especially around that game.
Yogi, you're the man. Always brings a smile to my face when I see you on my rundown when Porter sends it over. And it's just wild that you go from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, and Kyle goes Pac-12, Big 12, and now lands in the Big Ten, where you guys will be able to work together once again. Happy New Year to you and yours. Thanks for the time, man, okay?
You got it, brother. Talk to you soon.
Yogi Roth. He'll be on the Big Ten coverage, I believe, for the Rose Bowl tomorrow, Alabama, Indiana. That's on Thursday. Tomorrow, of course, is Utah, Nebraska, and the college football playoff continues. Reminder, we are your home of the college football playoffs here in our market on ESPN 700. So, of course, you can hear Utah, Nebraska. Miami, Ohio State, that's your Cotton Bowl. Then on Thursday, it's Oregon and Texas Tech, Alabama, Indiana, Ole Miss, and Georgia. All right, visit Young Automotive's year-end sales event, December 26th through January the 3rd. With qualifying purchase, receive a $1,000 Amazon gift card, 5 years of maintenance, and 90 days with no payments when you finance with our friends at America First Credit Union. We'll catch a quick break. We'll switch gears. Andy Larson joins us. Then it's Dave Fox. We'll launch into the 5 o'clock hour of the program on a Tuesday afternoon. Keep it right here on ESPN 700. All right, we're going to catch up with Dave Fox in just a little bit. Is Dave? No, Dave's too much of a diva. It's too cold. There's no way he's walking a couple of blocks to come in the studio, right?
I think he is. I'm talking him into it, I believe.
Well,
we'll see.
okay. We'll see. Our next guest has been joining us in studio, but he's over the phone today on a Tuesday afternoon. It is Andy Larson from the Trib. What's up, man?
Not much. How are you?
Why aren't you sitting across from me in my studio?
We did not have our usual Tribune sports staff meeting today, so decided to spend the afternoon at my home office rather than at the Tribune offices downtown, and then headed to the game later tonight.
Typical fake woke liberal news, just taking the week off, right? Am I right, huh?
I mean, that the week off was dedicated for last week. Let's be real, but
okay. All right, fair enough. We'll move on from that. All right, I have long been, let me just say this, promotion, relegation, like when I first heard about that dynamic, I mean, I was such like an American sports conditioned fan. I was like, that is such nonsense. But ultimately, I think it would solve so many different problems, not just in basketball. I think it's actually something you should look at for college football as well. It will never happen, even though it should. But you proposed an anti-tanking measure today. And I just, because it like promotion relegation, this essentially comes from the Premiership, overseas, obviously, the EPL. So I like it. I want to get into it because I do think there needs to be some sort of solution. What is the Andy Larson proposed anti-tanking measure?
yeah, look, I don't think you even need promotion and relegation with this. Like F1 does the same thing, but essentially it's giving more money to the better teams. So the idea is, right now, most of the NBA team's revenue is from national TV sources, and the league signed a new TV deal that gives it $7 billion per year in TV revenue, so about $230 million per team. Rather than giving that $230 million equally to each of the 30 teams, distribute it to the better teams, more of it to the better teams. So give, let's say, $350 million of it to the top team and $110 million of it to the worst team. And so that means that, you're fighting for real wins out there when you're going out on the court, or you're fighting for real money out there when you're going out there on the court, right? So rather than right now we've got front offices and ownership with no real incentive to win games. Back in the day, we'll call it the 70s, 80s, even the 90s, because the national TV deal wasn't as big of a deal, teams had to get their financial deal in straight by getting fans to come to the game. And that meant they had to have a good product on the floor. This goes back to that. So now that the economics have changed, now that the national TV deal is the biggest money-making part of any team's revenue stream, let's make it so that the teams that are the best are rewarded for that. And then I think you'll start to see across the spectrum of good to bad teams go all out to try to win as much as they can. And, obviously that's what we want in NBA basketball.
I don't hate this at all. I actually think it's really smart. But let me go back to, promotion relegation. Let's lean into this for a moment. I like I said, there's no way it will ever happen. And I think what you're proposing is more realistic because you would need, 2/3 vote Board of Governors, I think something like that to pass something, along the lines of this. But promotion relegation, to me, if it was implemented, it would add so much intrigue down the stretch for bad teams to continue to try to get better and win games. And look, you'd have to really do something with the infrastructure of the G League because that would be the deal. You would play in the G League for a year. But tell me what you think about that potential, even though we're just doing pie-in-the-sky sports talk radio, pontificating on hypothetical possibilities. What do you think that would do for pro basketball?
I don't like it as much just because, the G League is not anywhere close, right? There are no, the best players in the G League are guys like Elijah Harkless and Oscar Tshiebwe, right? It's not, those guys aren't even rotation players in the NBA. I honestly think that it's just too big of a jump. If you could get the FC Barcelonas of the world, the international teams in there, maybe, but then obviously you've got problems with that. I think the promotion relegation model works actually pretty well in college football, where like it's really easy to imagine you have a conference tier 1, a tier 2, and you could imagine if BYU has a special season and wins their conference, then you move up and you play with Georgia and Alabama the next year, right? And then you do have a chance to win the national championship, and there is a path there, right? Like I think that could actually be pretty good, and honestly, it's not too far away from what we're kind of already doing in college football. With basketball, like the tier difference is so vast that I just don't think that it makes sense, because the relegated Jazz are just going to go 82-0 in the NBA 2, right? Like it's just it's too big of a gap.
Yeah, no, I agree. There would have to be massive changes to the infrastructure, of basketball altogether. And there's a lot of conversation about the NBA exploring something over in Europe. That's not new. The NBA has been kicking the tires on that for quite some time. Quite frankly, after the '92 Barcelona Olympics, they just exploded the popularity of basketball across the globe. But when it comes to this, we'll just continue to kind of have some fun with this because I think it's really interesting. If this went to a vote, is it 2/3 of the Board of Governors of the teams that would have to be on board to pass something like you're proposing? Is that what the vote would have to look like?
I'm pretty sure, but I honestly do not know.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I do think the league needs to do something about this, Andy. What are your thoughts currently on the way the lottery is handled? Because we're going to get to the Jazz in a little bit. And as of right now, the Jazz are in danger of bleeping around and finding out, where if the season ended today, they would not have a draft pick in the first round. And so we'll continue to discuss whether or not they're going to do what they've done over the past couple of years, which is manipulate lineups to lose games. But the way the lottery is set up right now, do you like it, or do you have a proposal to change it?
I think it's pretty clear that it has not really worked to curb tanking in any real way, right? Like, the teams at the bottom still want to tank and maybe even want to tank more in order to make sure that they stay in the top 5 of the draft, right? That's what the Jazz were. It's not so much that the Jazz were, tanking at the end of last year in order to make sure that they had a 52% chance of being in the top 4. It's so that, hey, if worse comes to worse and we don't win the lottery, and obviously that's what happened, then you get a top 5 pick and you get Ace Bailey rather than Jeremiah Fears or Trey Johnson or whoever, right? And that was important to them, and I understand why. And so, yeah, I don't think the current system is working to combat tanking. I don't think the flattened lottery odds have done anything. I think ultimately, actually, in terms of parity and fairness, probably a less flat system is better, but then you still have tanking. And that's kind of why, given that this new flattened lottery odds system hasn't worked, I think that's why teams are being really creative about what might work in terms of solving tanking, because and the league is trying to be, because they've tried this thing that clearly has not really addressed the issue.
All right, moving over to the Jazz now, where look, it's pretty undeniable that at this point, and you and I debated this to start the season, and honestly, I wasn't sure, and I'm not sure that I've landed in a space just yet to be completely defiant one way or the other, but it just felt like if Will decided to play his best lineups more often than not, this is a team that had a chance to creep into a 30 to 35 win season. And you're not hanging a banner for that. You are losing a draft pick for it. So before we kind of get into things in a vacuum, macro viewpoint right now about what clearly has been a team that is playing better as of late.
Yeah, it's probably the most promising the team has looked in the last 3 years, right? For them to beat the Eastern Conference top record team, the Detroit Pistons, and then fly to San Antonio, land at 3 or whatever, and play the San Antonio Spurs the next day and win like they did is as impressive as a back-to-back as there is in this league. It is extremely well done. It showed a lot about who they are offensively. They're a legitimate problem for teams now offensively. This is a legitimately good offensive NBA team. Now, defense, they're still very bad, but they present some real problems to people, right? Keontae George is really, really good. Lauri Markkanen's really, really good. It's hard to defend them. And then you've got, some nice other stuff happening and a bunch of shooting around them at times. And it can kind of work out. And we obviously saw that in over the weekend. So, I think that's as promising as it gets. Now, the team realizes what you said, and the team realizes, like, hey, we cannot afford to lose a top 8 pick. And so you will see them make the moves needed in order to do that, right? They will try to lose games in order to get into that bottom 8. So one of the tanking ideas that has been proposed by the league is to prevent the possibility of a top 8 protected pick. So something could only be top 4 lottery protected or top 14 protected or something like that. We're not sure what that would actually look like. And again, that's just like a proposal that the league's kind of thrown out there and is gathering ideas on. But the Jazz realize right now, like, where they are, number 9 in kind of the tank race, is about the worst place they can be, and they will seek to lose games at the end of the year in order to make sure they're not there.
So when it comes to the trade deadline, some interesting things. I mean, you and I every week have discussed the marketing stuff, and I'm on record about what I thought they should have done after he was an all-star, and I also think he's awesome, and I also understand why you want a good player like that on your team. Then there's the Nurkic stuff where it's like, what is going on with like the resurgence of use of Nurkic? There's maybe a thought out there that a contending team wouldn't mind having Kevin Love for 15 minutes a night during the postseason. So what are you, if something was to go down, what do you think it would look like? What are the reasonable expectations as we are getting closer and closer to the NBA trade deadline?
Yeah, look, I think it's a Nurkic salary swap. I don't think like Kevin Love is going to be really that exciting of a tradable asset, though maybe you can do like something similar to what the Jazz did with Patty Mills and Drew Eubanks last year and get a second round pick or for him in terms of taking on some additional salary or, helping a team out. I think Nurk, teams realize what he is on the defensive end too, right? So I don't think there's going to be a lot of excitement to acquire him as anything other than a backup. And then, in case there's a major injury for a team that really wants to compete this year, and then maybe it makes a little bit more sense. But I don't think their team's going to be like giving up first round picks for Nurkic or anything like that. But again, maybe there's a salary swap along the lines of what happened with Colin Sexton over the summer that makes some sense for the Jazz. Maybe gets them a little bit younger, maybe makes them a little bit worse this year. Obviously Kyle Anderson is still on this roster. I don't think he really has a trade value, but again, maybe in that Patty Mills, Drew Eubanks way. And then, when you ask about Lowry, I don't think the Jazz would be excited about trading him. I do think, that they would listen to the right offer. I look around the league right now and I don't see the team that's willing to kind of go all in for Lowry. That makes a lot of sense. And nor do I see like the draft pick package that makes a lot of sense for, right? Like the Jazz have, in trading their previous best players, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, have kind of learned the lesson that like, hey, you need not only just a lot of picks, but you would really prefer those to be premium picks. And you need to understand that, hey, if you trade Lauri Markkanen to another team, that team's going to be probably pretty good. And so, it's maybe not enough just to get 3 of their future first-round picks. It maybe need to be if a team has a somebody else's pick that is really valuable or, some situation like or a terrific young player. But I just don't see that asset or assets really coming out in this trade deadline. The Jazz do like Lowry, and there is a little bit of proof of concept here in the last couple of weeks that this team can be good with him and Keontae George. Like, I understand why that bar would be really high.
So when it comes to, I don't know, like it's a new league, man. It's a different league. Oftentimes, and I love pro basketball, and certainly come playoff time, I'm dialed in. Once upon a time, I was dialed in every single night, and as we move out of the football stuff, I'll probably start to lock in a little bit more. But when I actually sit down and watch, I see the majority of teams playing the same way with similar players, with 5 out, try to beat your man, kick it out for 3. I don't see a lot of nuance on offense, and I see a league that probably has I don't know, maybe 3-4 elite teams, maybe 3-4 horrible teams, and then something like 22, 23 teams that are just pretty even. And in that scenario, are you just going to run into nights where you happen to play the same style that the other team is playing and you're just making shots and you're going to stumble into wins? I mean, that's just kind of what I've noticed watching the league this year.
So I guess a few thoughts. I agree that I think there are three to four elite teams. I think there are 7 to 8 pretty bad teams.
Okay.
And, I think we've learned that the Clippers, Indiana, they're Dallas. There's some bad teams down, and I guess Dallas isn't that bad, but I think there are some teams that we really expected not to be very bad that are pretty bad. And that means that, frankly, that's why the Jazz are ninth in the tank race, right? Is because there are 7 worse teams than them, and 7 to 8 worse teams than them that have fallen off into those spots. And then I see the Jazz's wins over the weekend were not shot variance, and I agree. 3-point variance, I think you can realistically explain, a third of the wins in the NBA with them. It's a ton. But I do see teams kind of playing a different style again, and not to be the basketball defender here, but the Jazz play this crazy off-ball style where they're running the ball through Yusuf Nurkic. No one else is doing stuff like that, Spence. The Warriors are still doing the Steph Curry stuff. Yes, the Oklahoma City Thunder are really Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dependent, and yes, the Clippers are James Harden dependent, and so on, and Kawhi Leonard, I guess, and so on and so forth, right? There are a lot of star-driven teams who, just run kind of heliocentric offense. But I think there are some teams that do some really different things. Like I said, the Jazz, the Warriors, the Pistons are pretty Cade Cunningham centric, but they do some stuff. Heck, the Celtics, who the Jazz will play tonight, without Jason Tatum, are not just force feeding the ball to Jaylen Brown. They're doing some fun stuff with Derek White and Jaylen Brown 2-man game. I don't know. It's obviously Jokic does a very different thing with their star, and Denver and Jokic do a very different thing than what Giannis and the Bucks do. So anyway, my point is, I think that's a little bit unfair. I think that's probably, when I watch the games, I think inaccurate. I go back and watch the YouTube games of the 90s, and it is entertaining, and the points are a lot lower, and I do think you feel the defense more, but I think it's because the players are allowed to get away with more defensively than the players of today aren't trying, or that it's too similar to one another or something like that.
Damn it, Andy, you stand up for basketball. Somebody needs to stand up for basketball. I want you to be that guy.
I still like basketball. I think it's a good thing. I think a lot of the criticism has been more narrative driven than reality driven.
Yeah, I guess it depends on which game you're watching. And like I said, I haven't really necessarily dug into every single team and the nuance of it. But when you look at the Jazz,
I will take. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I will take the Christmas Day slate of games. I thought they were fantastic, dude. I will take what happened on Christmas Day for the NBA over what happened on Christmas Day for the NFL any day of the week. The NFL games are trash. We got an awesome Spurs Thunder matchup. The Knicks game was awesome. The Rockets game was the Rockets whatever, but the Denver Minnesota game went into overtime and it was terrific, and with comebacks, I honestly think the league is in a pretty good place among its best teams right now. I think honestly, the biggest problem it's got right is come the end of the season, come March and April, 15 teams will either not, be in such a good place that they don't need to win more and, kind of rest guys, or be at the bottom of the league and trying to lose. And that makes night to night tough. But when you have marquee matchups, it is, I think, as good as it's ever been.
I love hearing that. I'm glad, because we are going to, make our way out of college football and the NFL in a bit, and certainly more NBA basketball will be consumed. But I know you got to go. But before I say you loose, I am taking Keontae off the table. You're not allowed to say Keontae George. The biggest development in a positive way for the Utah Jazz this year is what and why?
Is it wrong to say Ace Bailey's team-oriented game?
No.
And I it's not to say, obviously Ace Bailey wasn't with the Jazz last year, but that he has been kind of willing to buy into an offensive scheme and be a good teammate and is clearly focused on learning different elements of the game. Like, I think, that the fear about him was that he would be just kind of a gunner and kind of a ball stopper. And he has not played that way at all. He's dealing with a left hip flexor strain or whatever now. So he's out, for tonight and out the last couple games. But in terms of development, I'm looking for guys who can be part of the Jazz team. And I think it's pretty clear that Ace has what it takes to be not only just a good player, but a good teammate and be kind of a ball mover in a team that could really use him next to Markkanen and Kessler.
Andy Larson, the keeper of the NBA Shield. We appreciate your time, my friend. Happy New Year, okay?
I'm going to wear the Rob Lowe hat.
Love it.
Just with the NBA logo on it.
Love it. Enjoy the game, man, all right? All right, Andy Larson. Andy Larson, Salt Lake Tribune, covering the Jazz. They take on the Celtics tonight. Yeah, I mean, we've been pretty football-centric, and ultimately as college football winds down, which is about to, and the NFL moves into the playoff spot, we'll kind of lean a little bit more into our NBA coverage, bring back the NBA Daily Assist, and hopefully the Jazz continue to have some intriguing stuff to cover because football doesn't last forever. All right, neither do tires. See what I did there? Burt Brothers. Right now you can save up to $100 on Firestone tires, up to $120 on Bridgestone tires. It's the perfect time to replace worn tires and head into the new year with confidence. But hurry, these end-of-the-year deals will not last long. With over 30 years of experience and nearly 30 locations, Burt Brothers ASC-certified technicians bring expertise and professionalism to every location. They stand behind their products and services with industry-leading warranties and low-price tire guarantees. One-stop shop for reliable repairs and maintenance, from tires and alignments to fluids and brakes, now offering value tire options such as Americus and Summit tires, starting at just $69 and warranties that go up to 70,000 miles. As one of the few AAA certified shops in Utah, Burt Brothers upholds the highest standards in automotive service. Stop by a Burt Brothers or Tire Busters location or schedule an appointment today to experience the trusted service that has made them a Utah favorite for over 3 decades. Our good friends at Burt Brothers, BurtBrothers.com. All right, we'll get back to some football talk. Dave Fox joins us coming up next on ESPN 700. All right. Get to the 5 o'clock hour of the program today on this Tuesday afternoon. Programming reminder, this is our last live show until Friday. We are off tomorrow, and we are off on Thursday for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. We'll have all the college football playoff games for you. Of course, we'll have Utah, Nebraska tomorrow. Bevy of NFL action coming up this weekend. We are your home of the biggest and best football games in the market. Joining me now live in studio, KUTV's own.
What?
He is the property of KUTV. KUTV owns him.
They kind of do.
He is Dave Fox. Hello, how are you, sir?
When you're not at work, so you're under contract, you do what they tell you to do.
Of course.
But guess what? You
What's
also
up?
get a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Which is why, you
live with it.
You got to do what you got to do. Well,
Exactly.
you're putting food on the table.
Two quick things before we go any further. I'm
And
happy that you're
Pelotons
off.
in the basement.
What?
You're putting
Yes.
food on the table and Pelotons in the basement. Yep.
You're off the next 2 days. Why don't you just take Friday and make it a 5-day weekend?
Because I grind, Dave, and I'm here for the people. I'm a man of the people.
Okay, well, I'd take Friday.
Oh, I know you would.
Actually,
you probably
I am.
are. Yeah, I was going to say, as I often say, it's good to be Dave Fox. But Friday is the portal opening. And I am of the opinion, you tell me if you agree, that after Utah, Nebraska tomorrow, we're going to start to get news.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so because I care about my listeners, and you absolutely do not because you're taking the day off, I am coming in Friday to do a full 4-hour show.
Well, and John Henry Daly asked today, and I was talking to the Kath at home.
Shout out.
And she was like, why would he do that today if the bowl game's tomorrow? I said, well, he said he's out.
He's hurt. Yeah.
He's hurt. So he can do it anytime he wants. She's like, oh, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
But you're right. After the game's played, and which is why I believe they moved the date. They're trying to tighten this all up, moving some dates around here and there. But you still have other schools that are still going to be playing. I mean, that's another thing we were talking about. The championship game this year is on January 18th.
Yep.
You remember back in the day when January 1 was the end of the bowl season?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Well, and the Super Bowl used to be played in January, too.
Yeah, well, that's long gone.
Everything is pushed back. But look, we haven't had you on the show.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've been on vacation.
I know you have, because it's good to be Dave Fox once again. And look, you and I have talked about this over on KUTV. We've talked about it off air, but we haven't heard your take on the radio station that I can say into this microphone. The new head coach of Michigan football is a man named Kyle Whittingham.
Wow.
How does that land with you?
Well, first of all, let me just say I am so excited for Kyle, because the fact that he was able to land up the way he did, and I mean, I don't really know what has been going through his mind over the last couple of years, and let's remember he has pointed out he's the one that kind of pushed for this whole coach and waiting thing, but it comes a point where the coach and waiting is like, okay, I'm done waiting.
Right, so,
yeah. And this is what happens. And then you bounce into that job? I mean, as a guy who's in the twilight of his career, if suddenly KUTV came to me and said, by the way, you're done, there's no Michigan for me to land on. I'm just going into retirement. So good for him, because I was talking to his brother, Kerry. We did a little interview because we're doing
I saw it. It was awesome.
Can I tease this? We're doing a Kyle Whittingham special. It's going to hit on YouTube.
Awesome.
On January 1st.
Great.
And Kerry's a part of that. And he was saying it's Kyle's 60. I was confused.
66.
66. He says he's the youngest 66-year-old I know.
Yeah.
And you think about it, he kind of is. Kind of like I'm the youngest 67-year-old you know.
Sure.
You always tell me that.
Well said.
But anyway, he's right, and he's got work to do. Now, what I found most gratifying, you have an incredible guest list here of national people, and I haven't listened nonstop or to who you've had on. But I'm guessing most of them think this is a fantastic hire.
Yeah.
And everywhere you look, Joe Klatt was one of the first to come out. I'd have my kids play for him.
Yep.
Everyone loves this hire, loves it. And how can you not? Because of the kind of guy Kyle is and the gigantic mess that Michigan has been. They needed something. How many years did they just keep regurgitating guys? Guys who are in the program. I mean, Harbaugh, not necessarily, but he still has some history with him.
He played there.
But but not a regurgitated coach like they did for Brady Hoke is a perfect example, who obviously was way overmatched in that position. To go outside, get a guy who's a taskmaster, and I loved how Urban Meyer said it. You won't believe the way he runs practice.
Yeah,
it's just completely different.
Yeah.
It's a home run for them. I'm happy for Kyle, and I'm happy for Michigan. I'm not going to turn into Tony Parks, but I might buy a Michigan hat.
Okay, I think you'd look good in Michigan
all right.
blue.
Just to mix into the
Look, I feel like most everybody is happy for Kyle and believes, Michigan made the right hire. I know there's some Ute fans that probably are a little bit nervous about what's coming next, but you reference how Kyle was behind this, really pushing for Morgan to get that coach in waiting moniker. And, Kyle himself a number of years back basically said, I will not be a coaching lifer. I do not want to do what my father did because ultimately that probably caused his passing at a very young age. But Kyle himself this week said he regrets doing that. He regrets saying that, right? And as he got closer and closer to the time frame that he gave everybody, it appears that he started to say, well, wait a second, I don't feel done. I feel like I've got a lot left to give. And then on a number of different occasions, including on my show, he said, I do not want to overstay my welcome, and I don't want people to get sick of me. And then the news comes down that he's stepping aside. And the next week at media availability, after it was official that he was done, he said again, I don't want to overstay my welcome. I don't want people to get sick of me. He said it over and over and over, which leads you to conclude somebody up there was sick of him. So my question for you is somebody who's clearly overstayed his welcome in your spot. Just kidding. And, with how many people are just sick and tired of you. Just kidding. What do you think ultimately led him to say that over and over and over again as somebody who's overstayed his welcome?
That's an interesting question because
just kidding.
Hey, you need a drop in for that, Porter.
I'm just kidding.
Just kidding.
But people up there. Why did Kyle say that 10 times?
Because he's taking the high road. And two quick notes on this. I think we all have various people that we know in that organization that tell us things that are really reliable sources.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to reveal a bunch of that. We're not here to do that kind of thing. But there are two notes. While he was saying that, how long after that did he say, by the way, I'm in the portal? Remember that comment?
Yeah.
He had at that practice?
Yeah, I'm
a free agent.
I'm a free agent.
Yeah. So you're taking – this is Kyle. You're taking the high road. He is never going to be somebody that's going to throw shade on the University of Utah. Maybe he has the right to.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that ever comes out probably doesn't matter. That's just Kyle.
Yeah.
For him to say that. It's funny, though. I don't know. Do you think he's going to push for a coach in waiting thing ever again, even at this age? Because let's just say Jay Hill wanted to go there.
Mm-hmm.
How natural is that to be a coach in waiting? But do you even want to go down that path again? I sure wouldn't.
Yeah. I don't know how much of the Morgan is getting impatient thing came into play. My understanding is this is more about money people. This is more about big boosters, a few of whom I will not tell you their names, but you can also look on the stadium and the arena and look at the names that are on those buildings, and then you can go 2+2. Because here's the other thing. I think Mark Harlan is wearing this. I think a lot of people are going after Mark and believe that Mark handled this inappropriately. But let's just play this out for a minute. If, I don't know, a couple of the biggest boosters that you have at your disposal send some messaging to you that if Witt is back, I'm not writing the check this year, you have no choice. If you're Mark, you have no choice.
I just find that hard to believe, but maybe.
Look, everyone's wondering, look,
Does it really matter at this point?
Yes, absolutely it does.
Okay.
I've done multiple radio hits about this across the country, and it is the one thing everybody wants to know. Okay. In fact, I did a hit on a Michigan radio station, and the radio host said to me, because not a lot of people really knew Witt the way they already know him now. He's a national name because of the power of Michigan. In 2 days, more people knew Kyle because of the power of Michigan than they did in 21 years as the coach of Utah. And a couple of questions have been very consistent about every hit I've done. One of them is, if Kyle Whittingham wanted to continue to coach football, how in the hell is he not continuing to do that in Salt Lake? Yeah. So, yes, it's important because people want to know.
I see your point from that. And maybe what I'm trying to say is it important that we know who to blame. I think we can all agree on what happened. For the most part, don't we all agree he really didn't want to?
Then tell me what that sounds like then.
Well, it sounds to me like it's coming on a number of different levels. I'm not overly comfortable with spitting out names.
I didn't say names.
But I just think there's people from staff to administration staff to money people to relatives of staff. I mean, there's just a lot of layers here. And unfortunately, this whole coach and waiting thing started to wear on people. I firmly believe if that had not ever been created, he might still be there.
See, Porter,
maybe Scally would be gone.
This is what happens when you get a TV guy who wears makeup for a living in a radio state. Like
I'm actually wearing makeup now.
I know you are. I know you are.
And he's
I had
on
to shoot some
he's on
stand-ups.
camera too.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Looking good.
But this is what happens when the safety of TV is out the window and you're coming into my world where it's
hard.
sports talk radio.
It is hard because we don't do a whole lot of that
Getting grilled.
on television.
Oh, no, I know.
I'm
it's
trying to choose my words carefully.
No, I
Bottom
know.
line is we can all agree on what happened. I
Wait,
don't
wait.
know that we have to put up a giant chart on the wall and list everyone that was behind it.
No one's doing that, but I'll
Okay.
tell you why it's important. Okay, ready? This is a little radio trick for you. We're going to land in the place as to why it's important. Because if there was something behind the scenes where Kyle Whittingham feels like he was disrespected, Kyle Whittingham is your ex-spouse that can now afford the best lawyer, and you sit down to go back and forth and mediate who gets what, and Kyle says, you know what? Let's see. I'll take the house. I'll take the car. I'll take the kids. I'm going to take the dog. And guess what? The boat's coming too, because Kyle now has a bankroll that if he wants to hire Jason Beck and if he wants to hire Sharif Shah and Lewis Powell,
I see where you're
he
going with
can
this.
do that. So that's why it's important to understand how this went down.
I would definitely take the boat, by the way.
Oh, I know you'd take the boat. Yeah.
So you're saying that his vengeance
Yes.
is going to come in the form of just pillaging these programs.
What I am saying is penny for the thoughts of Mark Harlan when he got the alert on his phone that Kyle is taking what job?
Yeah.
And Morgan's like, wait, he's taking the Michigan job? You mean you don't mean the University of Michigan with a $20 billion endowment whose main donor is the CEO of Oracle and has more money than God? Kyle now has that bankroll at his disposal. And then Kyle himself at the press conference says, oh, I'm taking 7 or 8 assistants with me. So if Kyle feels like he was disrespected and there's an ounce of spite in that man, I think people
done.
around here are nervous.
Okay, but again, that's another thing I agree with. And by the way, in that Michigan press conference, he also said that he is taking 7 or 8 coaches, but he finished that sentence by saying, but they're all coaching right now, and I'm going to let them finish that out. Because there's a lot of people I'm already getting. Why hasn't somebody announced that Beck is leaving, or why, or Jim Harding, natural. By the way, if you're an offensive line coach, what university would be the ultimate to coach offensive linemen at?
Obviously, it's Michigan.
Michigan.
Right?
That's not even up for discussion.
Right.
So he at least had the decency to say he's going to wait. But by the virtue of the fact that he said that, I mean, you're right. I mean, he's not even going fishing. He's just going to be picking apples off a tree. I'll take you. I'll take you. I'll take you. I'll take you. Come on over.
I want the vacation home. I want the Airbnb.
Yeah.
I'll take the
every
frequent
bit of it.
flyer
Yeah.
miles too while we're at it. That's why it is important to understand exactly how this went down, because I just have not landed.
So you're still looking to blame someone.
I have not landed in the space that this was just like handshake and hugs. Everybody's great. Walk away. Because I think it's important to understand like exactly what the dynamics are in play, how this went down, and where Kyle is at with it. And I also feel really bad for Morgan. I think the pressure on Morgan has changed. And we can do the TV thing where it's like, this was the right thing to do. It was time
Well, I'm
to
not
do
saying that.
It was time to make
I
the
agree
transfer.
with you. I'm just not saying who is the primary person that's holding responsibility for all this.
When did I am not blaming one person.
Okay.
I'm not.
Then I just want to make sure.
I'm not
I don't think
blaming-
it's just the money men.
I think if you follow the money, you usually have the answers. And what I'm
That's
saying,
part of it.
I think a lot of people believe Harlan was behind this. And I just don't know that that's entirely fair, because if you're the athletic director and a good portion of your revenue is tied to the people that believe it is time for Morgan, I think some of the money people wanted Morgan. And if you're Mark, you don't have a choice. You can't be like, okay, no, do not write me your checks for millions of dollars, because you literally need that to run your program.
Well, he doesn't now because he's got the $50 million investment.
That's going to be used to service debt. He still needs donors and boosters.
I'm kidding in that respect.
But
You're right.
If you're Morgan Scally and your task is to rebuild your staff, your first year as a head coach, I'm not saying he can't do it. He spoke today during media and handled it brilliantly. I'm saying that's an extra added layer of pressure that you didn't know you had until like 3 days ago.
No, and credit Whittingham again. I'm going to go back to taking the high road when he said, University of Utah has treated me great.
Well, what was he going to say at
not-
his presser,
But I'm
Dave?
just saying what would Mike Gundy have said? I'm not sure he would have said that.
Well, he lost his job, so.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's Kyle.
He said all the right things, diffused that in a hurry, most people know better, but he did that part of it the right way. Yes, Scally's going to be tested, and he's going to be tested early. You know what's so fun is just to read everything that might happen, like Jay Hill to Michigan, Aaron Roderick to Utah, Jason Beck to Michigan, Jim. I mean, it's just
see
everywhere.
now you're doing radio. Now I'm proud of you. Now you're doing radio.
And Harding, by the way, maybe not even Michigan, but somewhere else. That's the one I really enjoy. So it's out there, and people are getting impatient. Jay Hill's bowl game's been over for 3 or 4 days. Why hasn't there been an announcement on that?
My guess is, and I don't know this, but again, it's radio, so we can do this. It's fun.
Oh, good. I like it.
My guess is BYU is making a play to keep him. They don't want him to go.
I don't know. There's some elements in here, though, that they can't match. And I'm not just talking about money.
Correct.
You got a coach at BYU who could be there for another 15 or 20 years.
Yeah. If there is even some sort of sliver of Jay come to Ann Arbor, and when Kyle is done in 5, because look, Kyle's not going to coach until he's 90.
No, yeah, you're right.
And Jay, I think, is what, 47?
This is being
46?
a no-brainer.
So, the one thing BYU cannot say to Jay is you will get this job at some point because Jay and Kalani are like the same age.
You'll get this job in the next few years.
Michigan can say that.
Michigan can say that.
Now, why we haven't heard anything official, my gut tells me BYU is trying really hard to keep him, and these decisions are not easy when you have a family like Jay does. Wink Martindale is like the toughest dude out, started crying when asked about what's happening with the Michigan staff. He said people don't really
Wink
get
Martindale.
it.
You mean the game show host?
No, he's the defensive coordinator for Michigan, Dave. He said people don't fully understand when you're uprooting young kids from school, and there are families that are being affected by what's happened. And I think he was kind of taking a shot at Sharon Moore because all of the reports are he didn't like him. He saw kind of the chaos. Yeah. So whether it's Jay Hill or Aaron Roderick or maybe not A-Rod as much, but Jim Harding, there are lives at stake. There are families that have to be uprooted, and there are things. I know a lot of unhappy people that are very rich, Dave, like you. So when it comes to just simply the money, I think most people are like, take it and run. No, there's a lot that you have to keep in play here.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And in Kyle's
case,
you
agree with me that you're rich and miserable?
Yeah, that's it. In Kyle's case, he's at that point in life where he can make a move halfway across the country and it doesn't uproot his family because they're all older now.
Right.
And Jay's not necessarily in that same spot. He does have older kids. I thought it was interesting that Jay Hill's not a huge social media guy, but he was after that BYU game. All the pictures he posted with him and his family.
The Pop-Tarts Bowl?
Yeah, after the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Oh. And it was almost smacked of, man, this has been so fun. I love these people, going to miss them. Okay, he didn't say that. This is radio, right? We can just
there you go. You're learning.
With that. Yeah.
But did you hear what Kalani said after the game? He said, I'm going to let Jay make his own announcement.
Right. And that spoke volumes.
Yeah. So I do feel like it's just a matter of time until we kind of hear that all this stuff is official. To your earlier point, we're going to do a little hybrid radio TV thing here, right?
Okay.
Because it can be, we can do the positivity. We can do the whole kumbaya, let's all hug each other. Because there's a chance this does work out for everybody. There's a chance that it works out for Michigan and Kyle. And for the people that believe that this shift had to happen now, if Morgan's the guy, then we'll learn over time. And then Morgan's the guy to usher this new era of Utah football. It could work out for everybody. I'm not saying it's not going to.
I think it will, actually.
I like your optimism.
No, but, I never really know. You know this, for every coordinator who becomes a head coach and is successful, there's one that tries it and is a failure.
Sure.
Charlie Weiss, Norm Chow.
Yeah.
So you don't know. But Scally seems to have the kind of makeup from what you and I know of him, and we've known him for years. We knew him when he was back doing radio, when he was doing this.
Yeah.
And he feels like the kind of guy that'll be very successful at it. But we need to see that. We already know Kyle will be.
You don't, by chance, remember...
Yeah, I remember everything. Let's don't even go down.
The Morgan Scally radio faux pas?
No, let's don't.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Come on.
No, I'm not. Obviously, I'm not going to say it into a microphone. See, knowing him, what that was is simply him being just like the most naive, ignorant, sweetest guy. He wasn't trying.
What he was saying.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to say it into the microphone?
No, I'm going to wrap this up.
What's coming up tonight?
5 o'clock.
It's not TV Gold because I'm not on TV. But what's coming up tonight?
But we're going to try to get through it all. Well, the Jazz playing the Celtics, by the way, kind of overlooking that after coming off two. you were on our show Sunday night talking about and I'm with you. I don't know what in the world they're doing right now. This is very confusing.
Yeah.
But sooner or later, they've got to get a handle on this because I don't think people understand how important a top 8 draft pick is as an asset. That can change your future.
Yep.
How about this? What if they miss out on that? Oklahoma City gets that pick, and lo and behold, they draw number 1.
It's just
absurd. But anyway, we've got that tonight. Also, Adam, the GOAT,
my guy.
Adam, did
sweetheart.
you name that segment now? Is it Adam and Spence?
He named it Adam and Spence.
That's what he called it.
It's pretty creative. So I was just like, sure.
Very clever.
Why not? It's my guy.
Anyway, he's in Vegas. He's at the big party right now.
Okay.
And we're going to hear from him. He'll be covering the bowl for us tomorrow. So, we got a full night tonight. Jenna Fink, Jenna,
Shout
our
out
new
Jenna.
reporter. She's
Yep.
going to be out covering the Jazz for us. We don't have Spence tonight. We don't have him again till Sunday.
I'll be back on Sunday.
Let me tell you,
which is good.
Spence is going to be busy. When we get into, you have concocted some of these shows, Talking RSL, doing that, and a podcast once we get that launched.
Yeah, excited for it.
It's going to be insane.
It is going to be insane.
That's what we got going on tonight. And then I'm a little, famished.
So you're going to take the next 3 weeks off?
I'm going to take the next 5 days off.
Oh, my gosh.
Wait, let's see. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
6 days.
6 days off.
Monday is Kathy's birthday.
Shout out, Kathy.
So I'm going to take her to dinner. And
well,
make it a nice day for
you enjoy the copious amounts of time off that you've earned, Dave.
But then I'll come back and I'll grind like.
For
I do
2
work
days.
Saturday. I have an Aggie game in Logan.
Oh, okay.
Utah State basketball, 2:00 against San Jose State. We'll
Okay.
have that on KMYU. I'll be broadcasting that game.
That's really just to get out of the house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Quick drive to Logan. Stop at Maddox.
Great. Ooh, good call. Great to see you, buddy, right?
Good to see you. Thanks,
Dave
man.
Fox, who has not overstayed his welcome and is not a miserable man.
Maybe here.
We'll catch a break. 5 o'clock hours next, ESPN 700. All right, here we go. Drive at 5 time. Tuesday afternoon style, about 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Happy Tuesday to you. Programming notes. We are off tomorrow. We are off on Thursday for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But you can hear all the college football playoff games and then a bunch of NFL games coming up this weekend. Of course, we are your home for the biggest and best college football and NFL games. We got a game going on right now. It's Illinois and Tennessee. 10-7, Illinois has the lead. It is the Liberty Mutual Classic City Bowl. And then tonight is the Alamo Bowl between USC and TCU coming up at 7 o'clock. And, of course, our programming attention will be on Utah, Nebraska. Reminder, you can join Porter for the pregame show coming up tomorrow at 9:30, so set your alarm for Utah, Nebraska in the Vegas Bowl. It'll kick off at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Bill Riley, Stevenson, Sylvester, and Scott Mitchell have you covered there. So it is bowl season as we're inching closer and closer to the end of college football. Utah is a 14-point favorite to beat Nebraska tomorrow. So despite no Spencer Fano, despite no Caleb Lomu, and Logan Fano as well not playing, Utah's still a healthy favorite to win the game. The media availability took place earlier today. Morgan Scalley, Matt Rule, Lander Barton, Devin Dampier, and others had a chance to express their excitement for the game coming up, and we'll see what happens. It is the debut as Morgan Scalley is the new head coach of Utah football, of course, after 21 years with Coach Witt at the helm. Now, speaking of Coach Witt, of course, the news cycle continues to surround what could be next for the coaches here locally who may have an opportunity to join Kyle in Ann Arbor. There have been reports that Jay Hill is already agreed, but nothing official has come down as of right now. BYU's defensive coordinator, who, of course, cut his teeth at Utah, and he and Kyle are very close. There was some news that became official. John Henry Daly has entered the NCAA transfer portal, a defensive end for the Utes who had a hell of a year, All-American this year, top 5 nationally in sacks, 11.5, tackles for losses, 17.5. So he will officially enter the portal when it opens on Friday, and we'll have 2 more years of eligibility. Now, reminder, just because you enter the portal doesn't mean you're leaving the team. It happens often. So John, of course, started Utah's first 11 games. He suffered what was a lower body injury against K-State, and he announced himself that he feels like he's going to be fully healthy by spring, and ultimately that'd be a loss. Now, a lot of the conversation about what transfer portal announcements we're going to hear prior to Friday. I think a lot of players and a lot of coaches, quite frankly, are waiting until the bowl game is behind them to announce their intent. And I think Kyle himself kind of gently alluded to this, that, you know, during the introductory press conference when he was introduced as Michigan's new coach, he said he's bringing 7 or 8 assistant coaches with him. And then so a lot of the assistant coaches that he has in mind are still coaching games, leading people to draw the conclusion that after, you know, Nebraska and Utah are done playing, the news cycle really might start revving, and we might start to hear some official announcements about coaches and players potentially leaving to join Kyle. Now, I think one of the things that hasn't been talked about a ton is the potential of Kyle looking at assistant coaches of other teams that are not BYU or Utah, because the college football playoff, of course, isn't just about to start. It will continue and will conclude Monday, January the 19th. So college football calendar is a lot longer than it used to be. Miami, Ohio State coming up tomorrow. So it looks like Utah, Nebraska will end right in time for Miami and Ohio State to begin. And then on Thursday, bevy of action, Oregon, Texas Tech. A lot of people excited about that one. Alabama and Indiana, Ole Miss and Georgia as well. So the college football bowl season continues, and the rumor mill surrounding both coaches and players here locally continues to churn at a very high level. Weekend in the NFL ended last night with a shocking Monday Night Football result. Atlanta, essentially eliminated, was able to upset the Rams 27-24. The Rams actually have the Falcons' first-round pick, if I understand that correctly. So that was a game that actually meant more than a lot of people believed. So the NFL regular season actually comes to a close coming up this weekend with a couple of Saturday games, Panthers and Bucks, then Seahawks and 49ers, which is very consequential, and then a slate of Sunday games that will culminate with a massive one in Pittsburgh as the Steelers take on the Ravens. Jazz in action tonight. They're looking to continue their hot streak. The Boston Celtics are in town. as NBA basketball kind of starts to permeate into our consciousness a little bit more once football kind of is behind us. All right, Kyle Whittingham to Michigan. Morgan Scalley taking over as Utah's head coach. Our buddy Yogi Roth will give us his perspective on this coming up on the other side right here on ESPN 700. Join that guy. That guy is Porter. That guy is Porter Larson. He produces this show. He also hosts our Utah Game Day pregame show, Las Vegas Bowl style tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at Young Chrysler Dodge Ram Jeep, 1481 West Riverdale Road is where you find him. You give us a tease. What's coming up on the Utah football pregame show tomorrow prior to the Vegas Bowl?
Yeah, we'll get you set to go. It'll be myself. Zach Moss will swing by. We'll have Kenneth Scott, maybe Andy Phillips. Kind of depends on his ski morning, I believe. But, 9:30 to 11:30 we'll be live. 11:30, Bill, Scott, and Sly will take over from Allegiant Stadium. And, of course, 1:30 the kickoff Mountain Time of Utah and Nebraska. As we kick off the Morgan Scalley era.
Indeed, it will be the debut of Morgan Scalley as the head coach of Utah football. Of course, Morgan, thought to be one of the brightest defensive minds in all of college football, was named defensive coordinator for Utah in 2016. He's been on the staff since 2008 and was named Utah's head coach officially December the 13th. It will be Morgan's, I think, 5th Vegas Bowl, he said earlier today. He played in one against USC back in the day, and then he's coached in 4. The line has remained the same. I thought the coaching news might shift it a little bit, but it did not. Utah's a 14-point favorite. Nebraska is without both their starting quarterback and then their best running back as well. And Utah is going to be playing without 2 of their linchpins on the offensive line, as Caleb Lomu and Spencer Fano have decided to opt out to prepare for the draft, which you totally understand. Some college football tonight. If you're looking for a little action, it's the Valero Alamo Bowl between USC and TCU. As far as the non-CFP games, this certainly is one of the better matchups. I don't think that's even a hot take. And then the college football playoff will get rolling tomorrow. So tomorrow we've got a big day on the station. We will not be doing live shows, but you will hear Utah and Nebraska kicking off at 1:30. And then all the college football playoff action. Tomorrow it is the Cotton Bowl Classic between Miami and Ohio State. And then on Thursday, just a bevy of action. Great time of year for football, and it'll lead you right into the weekend in the NFL. And, of course, college football not over till January 19th is definitely a new thing. Jazz in action tonight against the Celtics, some local basketball. The Mammoth got again last night. All right, Porter. Between now and Friday, which is our next live show, will we be cracking the mic Friday afternoon with a bunch of news to get to? Do you think we're going to get a lot of official announcements between now and Friday?
I think we're probably going to get a lot of stuff on Friday and through the weekend. I know that, the Friday news dump thing is always kind of interesting when you're cracking the mic at 2 p.m., but I do think that we'll get at least a lot of those rumors that we've heard circulating. We'll learn maybe which of those has any sort of staying power, right? Now, we won't have all the loose ends wrapped up because this is a carousel that negotiations have to happen, and then after those happen and guys agree to jobs or agree to transfer, then other people go based on their decisions, and then other people will maybe change their mind based on those decisions, right? It's a whole thing. But we will at least get some clarity, and I believe quite a bit of that clarity will be on the, as you have grown accustomed to on this station over the last few days, on the Michigan side.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough,
yeah.
But that doesn't mean we're going out of our way to talk about Michigan. It's just because it has a lot to do with what's going to happen here and what this program looks like in the next calendar year.
I will share what I shared earlier, just in case you missed it. I had a really special opportunity earlier today to attend the life celebration, is what I'll call it, of Barbara Layden, Frank Layden's wife. Of course, we lost Frank about 4.5 months ago now. And it was great to see a lot of the old school Jazz people. Our guy, Gordy Chiesa, was in the house. Legend Carl Archie was there. I saw Tammy Sloan, a bunch of old people that I used to work with at the Jazz back in the day. And one Ron McBride was in attendance. And, of course, whenever I see Coach Mack, you got to pay your respects, and which I did, said hello, gave him a big hug. And all I said was, quite a news cycle the last week, huh, Coach? And he looked at me and said, it's just getting started.
Yeah.
So that's a man that would know a thing or two, I'll tell you that.
And he knows how this business works, right? And knows that it's way too intertwined to think that one story happens and then it stops there. College football is way too connected, way too incestuous, if you want to say, to believe that. The relationships are too deep, they're too real to believe it. I mean, look at the one guy who Kyle has officially hired in Michigan is someone he's known for 15 years, had a brother that worked in Utah. It's just part of the game. And we're gonna hear a lot more and still have questions in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Also coming up on Saturday, let me reference this, at 2 o'clock at the John M. Huntsman Center, Utah men's basketball is taking on the number 1 team in the country, the Arizona Wildcats, and Arizona is nasty. I watched them play a couple of times. Utah men had a halftime lead last night, but couldn't get it done against Washington. I'm anticipating a very tough, long year for our guy, Alex Jensen, and hopefully it's just the beginning of a journey that will culminate with a lot of exciting things. All right, Porter, let's get out of here. Again, we are off tomorrow. We are off on Thursday, back on Friday. Do you even have the audacity to try to tease a Friday show?
I know Chris Kamrani will join us. I know Roxy Bernstein will join us. And we'll tentatively have the NBA Daily Assist, knowing full well that we may be talking a lot of college football that day. But we'll go from there. I got some things to take care of before Friday.
Yeah, for sure. So that'll do it. This is our final show of the year. So let me just take a moment to say thank you sincerely from the bottom of our hearts to all of you who make us a part of your day in whatever way you consume us. Whether you're one of the old school listeners, shout out to all of you who hop in your car every day and make sure your radio's turned to either 700 AM or 92.1 FM. If you're a young that doesn't even know what a radio is, if you consume us digitally, that's awesome, on our podcast page, or you can always stream us on ESPN700sports.com. I want to say a very special thank you to all of you and wish you a very sincere and safe, happy new year to all of you and all of yours from all of us here at ESPN 700. Special thank you today, Stevenson Sylvester, Yogi Roth, Andy Larson, and Dave Fox. For any of the sound you may have missed from the show, go to the website, ESPN700sports.com. Download our mobile app. Take us on the go. Mobile app is available in the App Store or the Google Play Store. And then finally, for what we do in our space for 4 hours every afternoon, if you have a moment, please become a supporter of our podcast page on your preferred podcast catcher. Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever it is. Subscribe, rate, review, say nice things in the comments. Give us all the stars. It actually helps. Reporter, I'm Spence saying goodnight. Enjoy your new year. We'll talk to you in 2026 on a Friday Drive. As always, you can find it right here on ESPN 700.